Chapter 198. Ling Shiqi noticed that the red crag beast was breathing out more than it was inhaling, and a bold idea suddenly popped up in his mind. Since the blood of a rank 2 monster did not increase his spiritual power by much, what about a rank 3 monster? Thinking of this, Ling Shiqi's heart suddenly became excited. Not only that, but the corpse of a rank 3 monster was also worth a lot of system coins, and Ling Shiqi valued the monster core of the red crag beast the most. The 2 beast essence battle patterns on his body were both from rank 2 monsters, which had already greatly increased his combat power. During this period of time, he also had about 10 rank 2 monster cores in his hands, but he was unwilling to give up the spiritual ruin Beast King's beast essence battle pattern for the silver-scaled fire-armored crocodile. However, if he had the rank 3 monster core of the red crag beast, then he would not have to worry so much. This red crag beast was clearly a monster with extremely strong defense, and could be used to replace the silver-scaled fire-armored crocodile's beast essence battle pattern. Just the thought of having the red crag beast's beast essence battle pattern made Ling Shiqi feel an inexplicable excitement. He had decided to do it this time. However, a problem came with it. If he wanted to snatch the red crag beast from the disciples of the Imperial Beast Camp and Blood Beast Sect, it was undoubtedly like pulling chestnuts out of the fire. He had to think of a foolproof plan. As Ling Shiqi observed their battle, his eyes flickered with a bright light. The safest way he thought of was to quietly take the red crag beast away without anyone noticing. Generally speaking, monsters could not be put into mustard seed bags, unless it was a special spirit beast bag. Spirit beast bags were extremely precious, and only the disciples of the Imperial Beast Camp had them. The red crag beast could not be directly put into the system space either, and the system space could only store inanimate objects. So what Ling Shiqi had to do was to kill the dying red crag beast as quickly as possible when no one was paying attention, and then put it into the system space. With a plan, Ling Shiqi began to act. On the ground, the people of the Imperial Beast Camp and Blood Beast Sect were fighting fiercely. The scene of the disciples of these 2 factions fighting was really big. There weren't many of them, only 11 people in total. But if there were 11 demonic beasts, and 2 of them were third-order demonic beasts, then the situation would be completely different. The destructive power of the 11 demonic beasts could only be described as terrifying. Within a radius of several tens of meters, the plants and trees were sent flying, and the ground was filled with deep craters. It was simply a terrible sight to behold. Such a shocking movement would naturally be noticed by many people, but no one in the surroundings dared to approach. They had already run as far away as possible for fear of being affected. The most intense battle was between Sikong Shou, who was at the spiritual pulse realm, and the evil youth. Sikong Shou's hands pointed out repeatedly. His fingers shone with a faint starlight. Every time he pointed out, a starlight would shoot out. Beside him was a Tier 3 giant wolf demonic beast. The giant wolf demonic beast's body also had specks of starlight that reflected off Sikong Shou's brilliance. As for his opponent, the evil youth, he was not at a disadvantage at all. He had 5 claws, and each of his 10 fingernails were more than 3 inches long. Facing Sikong Shou's starlight finger force, he waved his arms, sending out blood-colored claw shadows that tore apart the finger force. Beside him, there was also a demonic beast that was fighting with Sikong Shou's giant wolf demonic beast. However, this demonic beast was very special and was more familiar to Ling Shiqi. That demonic beast did not have any beast skin on its body, revealing its flesh and meridians. It was as if a layer of its skin had been peeled off. However, this demonic beast's body was covered in a dense blood-colored light. To a certain extent, it was actually suppressing Sikong Shou's giant wolf demonic beast. Sikong Shou knew that the Blood Beast Sect's blood beasts had always been very powerful. He also admitted that his Starry Night Wolf King was a bit weaker than the other party's blood beast. He looked again. In the battle between the Spirit Transformation Realm disciples, they were already lacking 1 person and 1 beast. They were completely at a disadvantage. At this moment, Sikong Shou said in a deep voice, "Zhuoduanya, you and I are only here to find clues about the great demon. Why do we have to fight to the death over a Zhu Crag beast? The evil youth, Zhuoduanya, coldly smiled and said, "What a joke. That Zhu crag beast was originally discovered by us and was heavily injured by us. You people from the Imperial Beast Camp want to take it away as soon as you come and say that the demonic beast is your friend. Don't disgust me. What, now that you can't beat me, you want to leave? Even if I can't kill you, I can still be happy for a few days after injuring you." Hearing this, Si Kongshou's face became even darker. He said, "Zhuoduanya, do you mean that we won't rest until one of us dies?" "We will not rest until one of us dies." Zhuoduanya growled and attacked even more fiercely. As the eldest disciple of the Imperial Beast Camp's younger generation, Si Kongshou was also the first to break through to the Spirit Pulse realm. He also had some pride in his heart. Now that he was being humiliated by Zhuoduanya like this, boundless anger surged out from his chest. He put 3 of his fingers together and released a starlight finger that was as thick as an arm. The battle between the two became even more intense. Just as they were fighting until the sky turned dark, 2 muffled sounds suddenly came from the Zhu crag beast's body. The Zhu crag beast also growled. However, in this battlefield, the roars of demonic beasts and the sounds of weapons and spiritual skills clashing could be heard everywhere. No one noticed this sound. In a situation where no one was aware, 2 waves of inner strength broke into the Zhu crag beast's body. However, this Zhu crag beast not only had a shocking defense on the outside, even its internal organs were extraordinary. Those 2 waves of inner strength did not cause too much damage to it. Soon after, a strong spiritual energy fluctuation suddenly erupted from under the Zhu crag beast's body. A huge cross-shaped brilliance drilled out from the ground and pierced a huge wound on the Zhu crag beast's body. This kind of movement finally attracted the attention of a few people nearby. When they turned their heads, they saw a strange, silver-white, muscular man break out from the ground. That muscular man's left hand turned into a pitch-black ghost claw. Demonic chi rose from the ghost claw and a cold wind whistled. It even carried a trace of killing intent. The demonic claw still ruthlessly tore open the red crag beast's wound, tearing off large chunks of flesh and blood. Immediately after, a purple half-moon bloomed in the dark night. However, this half-moon was a blade full of sharpness. The purple crescent sword chi deeply cut into the Zhu crag beast's body and strangled its remaining life force. At this moment, the people nearby finally reacted. Especially the disciples of the Imperial Beast Abode. Their original intention was not to kill the Zhu crag beast, but to bring it back and nurture it. They immediately gave up on their original opponents and rushed over together. However, just as they approached, more than 10 sharp earth spikes pierced out from the ground. This immediately made them a little flustered. Taking advantage of this opportunity, Ling Shiqi withdrew his sword chi and easily pierced the Zhu crag beast's flesh. Immediately after, a dozen waves of sword chi burst out and finally extinguished its last trace of life. At the same time, he waved his hand and put the Zhu crag beast's corpse into the system space. Immediately after, he exploded with his fastest speed and turned around to escape. Chapter 199. From the moment Ling Shiqi activated the dual beast origin battle patterns to the moment he took the red crag beast's corpse and fled, all of this happened in the span of a few breaths. The Imperial Beast Abode disciples who had caught up immediately shouted, "Who dares to steal our Imperial Beast Abode's spirit beasts?" This voice naturally reached Si Kongshou and Zhuoduanya's ears. The 2 of them were in the midst of a fierce battle, and when they heard this, they turned around and saw the silhouette of a silver-white brawny man quickly leaving. They sensed that the person was only at the late stage of the spirit transformation realm. Zhuoduanya was immediately enraged and roared, "How dare you pull a tooth from the tiger's mouth? I'll tear you apart." Even though Si Kongshou had a high level of cultivation, he was still shocked and angry at this moment. He whistled softly, and the Starry Night Wolf King, who was still fighting fiercely with the blood beasts, retreated from the battlefield and arrived beside Si Kongshou with a few leaps. Si Kongshou mounted the Starry Night Wolf King and directly turned into a streak of starlight as he chased after the wolf. In a few blinks of an eye, he overtook Zhuoduanya. The Starry Night Wolf King could not compare to Zhuoduanya's blood beasts in a frontal battle, but its speed was far superior. Ling Shiqi opened his supercilious eyes and immediately noticed Sikong Shou and the Starry Night Wolf King speeding over. Being chased by a spirit pulse realm expert and a rank 3 demonic beast, his heart could not help but rise to his throat. In just a few breaths of time, the distance between them was rapidly shrinking. However, since he dared to do such a thing, he must have made some preparations. 2 small balls of demonic aura appeared in Ling Shiqi's hands, and the demonic aura instantly condensed into 4 flying daggers. He did not even look and directly shot the 4 flying daggers behind him. When Sikong Shou saw the 4 flying daggers, his eyes flashed with contempt and disgust. Because the Imperial Beast Abode and the Blood Beast sect had been fighting non-stop, the disciples of the Imperial Beast Abode had always hated demonic cultivators. 4 flying daggers flew over in an instant. Sikong Shou flicked his finger, and a finger force similar to starlight surged out, directly smashing the 4 devil chi flying daggers into pieces. However, the 4 flying daggers did not dissipate after being shattered. Instead, a large amount of black devil chi exploded in the air. The devil chi was not dangerous at all, but it completely enveloped Sikong Shou and the Starry Night Wolf King, blocking their vision. Of course, Ling Shiqi knew that his devouring light flying dagger would be useless against a spirit pulse realm cultivator and a rank 3 monster beast. Therefore, after throwing out the flying dagger, he released all the devil chi he had gathered and drilled into the ground. After sinking to the ground, Ling Shiqi didn't dare to stop at all. He continued to dive at the fastest speed and observed Sikong Shou's movements with his supercilious eyes. Sikong Shou was enveloped by the devil chi. With a wave of his arm, a majestic spiritual power surged out and formed a hurricane around him, blowing away all the devil chi. But at this moment, the silvery muscular man was no longer in his sight. Sikong Shou's handsome face was as gloomy as water. He patted the Starry Night Wolf King, and the Wolf King immediately jumped to the place where the Ling Shiqi had burrowed into the ground and howled. You're saying that he disappeared here? Sikong Shou understood what the Starry Night Wolf King meant, but when he looked around, he didn't see anyone. At this moment, his eyes flashed. Since there was no one around and he couldn't have gone up to the sky, then he could only have gone underground. The spiritual power in Sikong Shou's body circulated at the fastest speed. Starlight flashed around his body, illuminating the night sky. He flicked his 10 fingers and 10 rays of starlight shot into the ground. Ling Shiqi sensed the 10 rays of dangerous energy through his supercilious eyes. He quickly moved out of the ground and ran forward. Sikong Shou's 10 rays of energy shot into the ground, but the rocks under the ground continued to wear down the energy. When the rays of energy reached the place where the Ling Shiqi was, they dissipated. Ling Shiqi was already several feet away and completely avoided the 10 rays of starlight energy. On the ground, Sikong Shou was still carefully sensing his own energy. However, when he realized that the energy didn't hit anyone, his expression became even uglier. At this moment, Zhuoduanya finally arrived. When he saw Sikong Shou's expression, he knew that he didn't catch up. He immediately mocked, "Oh, the leader of the younger generation of the Imperial Beast Camp can't even catch up to a little spirit transformation realm cultivator. You really live up to your name." No matter how good Sikong Shou's temper was, he still shouted, "What, do you want to fight again?" Zhuoduanya saw that he had completely angered Sikong Shou and felt extremely carefree. However, since the Zhu Crag beast was already stolen, there was no need for them to continue fighting. After all, they didn't come to the Demon Miasma mountain range to kill each other. They had more important things to do. Although Zhuoduanya didn't have the intention to continue fighting, when he thought about how the Zhu Crag beast was stolen right under their noses, he couldn't help but feel angry. However, even Sikong Shou's Starry Night Wolf King couldn't catch up to that person, so he definitely couldn't. He could only secretly remember the silvery white man's figure. If he met him again in the future, he would definitely make him suffer a fate worse than death. However, he also felt a little strange. He actually felt that the aura of the sturdy man was a little familiar, but he couldn't figure it out for a while. In the end, Zhuoduanya and Sikong Shou exchanged a few words before leaving with their own people. Leng Shiqi, who had stolen the Zhu Crag beast's corpse, had been moving stealthily underground. He only stopped when he had used up more than half of his spirit energy. Along the way, his heart had been beating very fast. He was afraid that the other party had some special method to lock onto his aura or tracks. At this point, he had almost run out of the demon miasma mountain range. He knew that the people from the Imperial Beast Camp and the Blood Beast sect were searching for something in the mountain range and wouldn't easily come out. Only then did he feel relieved. However, when he saw the corpse of the Zhu Crag beast in his system backpack, his heart began to burn with passion again. His actions this time could be said to be snatching food from a tiger's mouth. Fortunately, he had a lot of strange methods on him. Otherwise, it wouldn't have been so smooth. Leng Shiqi then recovered his spirit energy underground and opened up a room-sized space underground. With a thought, the Zhu Crag beast's rock-like corpse appeared in the space. Leng Shiqi's hands formed a seal, and a thick pillar of blood spurted out from the Zhu Crag beast's wound. After a full 15 minutes, Leng Shiqi's face was covered in sweat. Only then did he condense the Zhu Crag beast's demon blood. He held the ball of demon blood that was so red that it was turning black. Feeling the majestic spirit energy contained in it, he felt a wave of comfort in his heart. After putting away the demon blood, he took out a dagger and dug out the reddish-brown demon core of the Zhu Crag beast. Finally, he sold its corpse to the system for 73 system coins. At this point, the Zhu Crag beast had completely disappeared from this world. Chapter 200. Leng Shiqi looked at the extra 73 system coins and his heart skipped a beat. He remembered the black bruiser egg that he picked up a few days ago at the demon-suppressing town square. That item was worth 273 system coins. Now that a rank 3 monster's corpse was only worth 73 system coins, the black bruiser egg was probably a rank 4 or even rank 5 monster. However, Leng Shiqi had never had the time or the mood to study it, so he could only leave it to collect dust. His top priority was to refine the Red Crag beast's monster blood and refine the new beast origin battle pattern. To refine the beast origin battle pattern, he had to remove the original battle pattern. This was a relatively long process and could not be rushed, so Leng Shiqi decided to refine the Red Crag beast's monster blood first. He first adjusted his body to the best state, then raised his head and swallowed the rank 3 monster blood. This was the first time he had refined the monster blood of a rank 3 monster. There was a world of difference between a rank 3 monster and a rank 2 monster. It was like the insurmountable gap between the spirit transformation realm and the spirit pulse realm. Therefore, the violent spiritual power contained in the rank 3 monster blood was a bit beyond Leng Shiqi's expectations. The moment the monster blood entered his body, it exploded in an instant. The violent and raging spiritual power rampaged through Leng Shiqi's body, causing his face to twist in pain. However, his willpower was far stronger than ordinary people, and he had 2 rank 4 cultivation techniques. Faced with this situation, Leng Shiqi used the 7 Fiend Blood Art to guide the violent spiritual power. The 7 Fiend Blood Art was a cultivation technique that was good at controlling blood. Under Leng Shiqi's control, the spiritual power in the monster blood was guided into his dantian bit by bit, thus transforming it into his own spiritual power. However, this process was very slow and filled with endless pain. Especially when the monster blood's spiritual power flowed through Leng Shiqi's meridians, his meridians were about to explode. At this time, Leng Shiqi was doing 3 things at once. At the same time, he was using the 9 nether magic pattern to protect his meridians. But in this way, Leng Shiqi's mind was rapidly consumed. Fortunately, Leng Shiqi had plenty of experience in refining demonic blood. He knew that the most difficult part was the beginning period. As long as he could endure it, the power of the demonic blood would become weaker and weaker, while his spiritual energy would become stronger and stronger. Sooner or later, he would be able to completely refine it. Therefore, the Leng Shiqi, who was hiding in the dark underground, endured the inhuman pain alone in order to increase his strength. Gradually, the power of the Red Crag beast's blood began to weaken, and Ling Shiqi slowly took control of the situation in his body. Everything was progressing in a good direction. More than 2 hours later, Ling Shiqi was already sweating profusely, and his clothes were soaked in sweat. Exhaustion was written all over his face, but his eyes were abnormally bright. Ling Shiqi let out a breath of turbid air and smiled with satisfaction. Although refining the red crag beast's demonic blood was very difficult and painful, it was fortunate that he had 2 rank 4 cultivation methods and rich experience, so he was able to get through it without any danger. Now, the spiritual energy in Ling Shiqi's body had increased by a lot compared to 2 hours ago. He roughly estimated that the red crag beast's demonic blood was equivalent to more than 10 balls of demonic blood from rank 2 demonic beasts. He estimated that as long as he refined a few more balls of demonic blood from rank 2 demonic beasts, he would be able to cultivate to the peak of the 8th level of the spirit transformation realm. It could be said that the red crag beast's demonic blood had saved him nearly a month of time. Although this was the case, Ling Shiqi was not very happy. This was because the spiritual energy he obtained from refining the demonic blood was not pure enough. He would have to spend a few days slowly purifying it. In the following few days, Ling Shiqi obediently stayed underground to polish his spiritual energy. At the same time, he avoided the people from the Imperial Beast Abode and the Blood Beast sect. He did not even show his face. He stole the red crag beast under the noses of the 2 top forces. This matter would definitely be remembered by their disciples, so he needed to avoid the limelight first. In addition, in these few days, even though he was underground, he could occasionally feel a few powerful spiritual energy fluctuations. These were clearly spiritual energy fluctuations that only Spirit Pulse Realm cultivators or rank 3 demonic beasts could emit. One had to know that his location was actually very close to the demon-suppressing town. In this location, rank 2 demonic beasts rarely appeared, but now, rank 3 demonic beasts frequently appeared. This meant that something must have happened in the Demon Miasma mountain range. He could also return to the demon-suppressing town, but he did not have any sources of information in the city. Instead of listening to all kinds of rumors in the city, he might as well rely on his supercilious eyes to observe silently from underground. On this day, Ling Shiqi finally purified the spiritual energy he obtained from refining the demonic blood. However, compared to his own spiritual energy, it was still slightly inferior. This was something that could not be helped. After all, he relied on external objects to obtain his spiritual energy. Then, Ling Shiqi took off his shirt, revealing the beast origin battle pattern of the silver-scaled fire-armored crocodile on his chest. What he needed to do now was to first remove the beast origin battle pattern. According to the demonic beast origin technique, before replacing the beast origin battle pattern, the old battle pattern had to be erased, and this process was not easy to bear. Ling Shiqi closed his eyes and used the method to erase the beast origin battle pattern. He saw the pattern of the silver-scaled fire-armored crocodile on his chest slowly fade. The aura on his body was also gradually weakening. This feeling of strength weakening was an indescribable pain. After a short while, the pattern of the silver-scaled fire-armored crocodile completely disappeared. Ling Shiqi took out the reddish-brown demonic core of the red crag beast. His eyes were filled with anticipation as he swallowed it. After swallowing the demonic core directly turned into countless reddish-brown light spots that surged into his flesh. It was as if there were countless spikes piercing into his body. Ling Shiqi immediately activated the netherworld demonic pattern and began to actively absorb these light spots. He was using the power of the demonic core to temper his body. He had long thought that the power of the red crag beast's demonic core was probably more violent than the demonic blood, so he had a plan. Taking this opportunity to temper his body with the power of the demonic core, he could also greatly reduce the danger of refining the beast origin battle pattern. It was killing 2 birds with 1 stone. In this case, Ling Shiqi's physical strength was constantly improving, and the pattern of the red crag beast began to appear on his chest. The process was actually smoother than refining the demonic blood. As time passed, the pattern of the red crag beast became clearer and clearer. When it was completely completed, Ling Shiqi's body underwent a huge change. Ling Shiqi's body grew layers of reddish-brown, rock-like strange substances. These things completely wrapped him up and finally formed a heavy armor. Chapter 201. After successfully refining the beast origin battle pattern, Ling Shiqi's entire body was suddenly covered in a rock-like reddish-brown armor. From the appearance, this armor was 60 to 70% similar to the Zhu Crag beasts, and the helmet was almost the same as the Zhu Crag beast's head. Ling Shiqi didn't expect that the Zhu Crag beast's beast origin battle pattern could directly condense into armor. He gently knocked on his arm, and suddenly, there was a dang-dang sound. Bang! He clenched his fist, and a rank 2 dagger appeared in his hand. He raised the dagger and fiercely stabbed down. With a kacha sound, a crack appeared on the tip of the dagger. Hiss! Ling Shiqi couldn't help but exclaim, "It's that strong?" Immediately, he circulated his spirit power, and the dagger suddenly shone with a faint light. Ling Shiqi stabbed his left arm again. This time, the dagger and the armor clashed, producing a clanging sound. The dagger left a small white dot on the armor, and the cracks on the dagger increased. Seeing this scene, Ling Shiqi was pleasantly surprised. He had also predicted that the Zhu Crag beast's beast origin battle pattern would be better than the silver-scaled fire-armored crocodiles, but he never expected it to be this strong. This was the beast origin battle pattern of a rank 3 monster. However, just as Ling Shiqi was rejoicing, a slight feeling of exhaustion came from his body. His expression changed slightly, and he hurriedly removed the beast origin battle pattern. The armor on his body also disappeared, and the feeling of exhaustion eased a little. Ling Shiqi couldn't help but frown again, and muttered, "How long has it been since I activated the Zhu Crag beast's beast origin battle pattern? Isn't this consumption too great?" After he successfully refined the beast origin battle pattern, it automatically activated. After that, he tested the hardness of the armor, and it only took a dozen breaths of time for him to feel exhausted. Moreover, when he refined the beast origin battle pattern, he also used the power of the monster core to temper his body. Now, his body was comparable to a spirit cultivator at the middle stage of the pure spirit realm. But even so, it couldn't support the consumption of the beast origin battle pattern. The rank 3 demonic beast's beast origin battle runes were indeed powerful, but the price to pay was not small either. Ling Shiqi said helplessly, "It seems that the Red Crag beast's beast yuan battle pattern can only be used as a last resort." Of course, Ling Shiqi was already very satisfied. After refining the demonic blood and refining the beast chi battle runes, his cultivation and strength had improved. Then, he subconsciously activated his supercilious eyes, trying to see if there were any demonic beasts around. However, he immediately withdrew his supercilious gaze and broke out in a cold sweat. Just now, in his white eye's vision, he saw 8 extremely large balls of spirit energy. Even the weakest among them had a cultivation that far exceeded the spirit pulse realm. One of them had spiritual energy so dense that it was as terrifying as a volcano that was about to erupt. What was even more frightening was that Ling Shiqi noticed that the man actually stopped and looked down. Ling Shiqi was secretly shocked. Did he discover me? He immediately used the breath-concealing technique to reduce his aura to the lowest level, feeling uneasy. On the ground, there was a group of 8 people walking past. These 8 people were all wearing black and red robes. They were from the Blood Beast sect. The one walking at the front was a middle-aged man with white hair. He had a mustache and looked a little sinister. As he walked, his footsteps suddenly stopped. He looked down and let out a soft cry of surprise. The person beside him bowed and asked, "Elder Xie, did you find something?" Elder Xie said in a serious voice, "It's a bit strange. Just now, I suddenly felt that someone was watching us." That gaze flashed by, and the source seemed to be underground. Could it be that the people of the Imperial Beast sect set up a formation? That's possible. That group of sanctimonious people only know how to play such small tricks. Don't worry about it. With me here, they won't be able to do anything. Elder Xie snorted coldly and continued to lead the people of the Blood Beast sect forward. Ling Shiqi waited anxiously underground for a long time, but nothing happened. Only then did he feel relieved. Ever since he had the supercilious eye, he had been using it very smoothly. Only when he was in the tomb of Boiwanhu was the formation limited the supercilious eye's ability to see through things. But today, Ling Shiqi finally understood what it meant by there was always someone better than you. Even if he hid underground and used the supercilious eye to investigate, he could still be detected. This meant that the supercilious eye was still flawed. For a true powerhouse, they were extremely sensitive to everything related to them, even if it was just a gaze. At this moment, Ling Shiqi still had some lingering fear. If he hadn't reacted quickly just now and retracted the supercilious eye, he might have really been caught by that powerhouse. This unexpected incident instantly shattered his joy of refining the beast origin battle pattern. At the same time, he also felt that a major change was about to happen in the demonic miasma mountain range. He just hoped that it wouldn't affect him. He just wanted to hunt a few rank 2 monsters here. Then he directly followed the system map underground to a remote part of the mountain range. There were very few rank 2 monsters here, but it wasn't like there weren't any. Ling Shiqi stayed here and refined the monster blood to increase his strength while hunting monsters to replenish his monster blood. Time passed day by day. After 9 days, Ling Shiqi's cultivation finally broke through to the 9th level of the spirit transformation realm. However, after reaching the 9th level of the spirit transformation realm, the amount of monster blood could increase his cultivation was even less. Fortunately, he still had plenty of time. Combined with spirit stones and pills, his progress wasn't slow. As time passed, more and more rank 3 monsters appeared in the periphery, and Ling Shiqi's range of activity became smaller and smaller. 2 months later, Ling Shiqi finally couldn't stay in the demonic miasma mountain range any longer. This was because the periphery was now filled with rank 3 monsters. Although there were more rank 2 monsters, Ling Shiqi couldn't find a chance to kill them. If he dared to rashly kill a rank 2 monster, it would definitely attract more rank 3 monsters. More importantly, he no longer had any monster blood. Now that he couldn't replenish it and was surrounded by danger, he could only return to the demon-suppressing town to think of a way. Thus, he carefully returned to the entrance of the demonic miasma mountain range. However, he didn't expect to be stopped by 6 people. Most of the 6 people were at the late stage of the spirit transformation realm, and they all stared at Ling Shiqi with malicious intent. Ling Shiqi narrowed his eyes at the 6 people and said in a hoarse voice, "Why are you stopping this old man?" A burly man among the 6 shouted, "Old man, hand over everything you have and we'll spare your old life." Ling Shiqi didn't know whether to laugh or cry. There were actually people who wanted to rob him, and they even wanted to rob him. Chapter 202. Ling Shiqi looked at the 6 people who robbed him expressionlessly as if he was looking at 6 dead people. The bearded man became angry when he saw Ling Shiqi ignore him and look at him with such a gaze. He pulled out the large blade on his back and shouted, "Old man, what a pity. Now you don't even have the chance to beg for mercy. Kill him." The bearded man waved his hand and the 5 people behind him pulled out their spirit weapons. Waves of spirit energy spread out and various spirit techniques attacked Ling Shiqi. The bearded man held his large blade, but his blade was very fast. In the blink of an eye, it was in front of Ling Shiqi. However, Ling Shiqi was still expressionless as he said, "Your blade is quite fast." The bearded man heard this and snorted, "It's too late to flatter, you old man who doesn't know what's good for you." At this moment, the other 5 people also surrounded him. Ling Shiqi held the hilt of his blade and said, "But my blade is faster." Before Ling Shiqi finished speaking, there was a zing sound as he unsheathed his blades. In an instant, hundreds of light purple blade shadows poured out like a torrential rain. This was the peak stage rank 3 blade technique, the flying rain blade technique. Under the hundreds of blade shadows, the 6 people, including the bearded man, were all shocked. They could only bitterly defend as the sound of metal clashing echoed around them. After 2 or 3 breaths of time, the blade shadows dissipated and blade marks appeared on the 6 people's bodies. Not only did this move resolve the attacks of the 6 spirit transformation realm cultivators, but it also turned defense into offense, injuring the 6 people at the same time. At this moment, Ling Shiqi's aura changed as well. A few faint traces of crimson blood energy appeared around his body. Even his eyes had a hint of blood color. During this period of time, Ling Shiqi had killed an unknown number of second-order demonic beasts and refined an unknown amount of demonic blood. In fact, his body had long been hiding a dense baleful aura. Now that he had the intention to kill, that murderous aura was stirred up. The bearded man saw Ling Shiqi's killing intent and felt a chill down his spine. He knew that he had bitten a hard bone this time. There was only one thought in his mind, and that was to escape. He suddenly thought of a plan. He planned to encourage the others to continue attacking the strong cultivators while he took the opportunity to escape. However, just as he opened his mouth, before he could speak, one person had already started running. Ling Shiqi glanced at the man who was running away. Then, he stretched out a finger. Suddenly, a flame burst out from the tip of his finger. He drew a line in front of him, and actually drew the word 1 in midair. Ling Shiqi's finger moved slightly, and the 1 character formed by flames shot out like a sharp arrow. In the blink of an eye, it pierced through the back of the fleeing person. The man screamed and fell to the ground, unable to get up. However, the flames on his body were still burning, and a burnt smell drifted over. The remaining 5 people were all ashen. The little old man standing in front of them was not only terrifying with his saber skills, but he was also a spiritual caster. How unlucky were they to rob such a person? Ling Shiqi did not turn his head to look at the dead man. His finger moved again and wrote up fire character in the air. This fire character was completely formed by flames. Just by floating there, it made them feel incomparably hot. Rank 3 spiritual skill, fire. Ling Shiqi said, "Hand over everything you have and I'll spare your lives." Hearing this, the bearded man's face stiffened. Wasn't this what Ling Shiqi had just said? Between them, the hunter and the prey, their identities had changed in this short period of time. The bearded man knew that Ling Shiqi would not let him go and he would not hand over his things. Since it had come to this, he could only fight to the death. He immediately shouted, "Don't be stupid, do you really think he will let you go? Let's attack together." However, before he could finish his sentence, the fire character floating in the air flew over with a blazing heat wave. The bearded man had been on guard for a long time, but when he wanted to dodge, 3 earthen walls the size of half a door suddenly appeared on his left, right, and back, surrounding him. The bearded man had nowhere to retreat and revealed a look of despair. The fire character was like a fiery beast that devoured him. The bearded man was burned into a pile of charcoal amidst the wails and screams of agony. The remaining 4 people were so scared that their legs trembled. They were among the stronger spirit transformation realm cultivators and had some ability. Otherwise, they wouldn't have dared to rob here so blatantly. However, they never thought that spirit transformation realm cultivators could be so strong. If they were given another chance to live, they would never dare to rob an old man again. This old man will say it again. Hand over everything. Ling Shiqi moved his fingers and wrote the word 1 in the flame again as he said coldly. I'll give. Sir, you are my grandfather. This little one was blinded by others to do such a thing. Spare me, I don't want to die. 3 of them began to beg for mercy. Only a middle-aged man with a blue birthmark on his face muttered, "Ignorant. No matter how much we beg for mercy, he will not let us go." Ling Shiqi naturally heard this. He gently waved his arm and 3 characters shot toward the other 3. Although the 3 of them were begging for mercy, they never let down their guard. When they saw the flames shoot toward them, they quickly dodged. However, unbeknownst to them, a layer of ice had appeared beneath their feet and froze their feet. This layer of ice was not very thick, but the bone-chilling cold invaded their legs and froze their meridians, making them unable to move for a while. In this short instant, the 3 flames had already pierced through their vitals. After Ling Shiqi had cultivated the third-level spiritual skill, fire symbol technique, to the perfection stage, his mind was filled with many more insights on how to use spiritual skills. Thus, he became more adept and nimble in using the previous few spiritual skills. Up until now, only one of the 6 people who came to rob him was left in the blink of an eye, and only a short while had passed. At this moment, the middle-aged man with the birthmark said in a neither servile nor overbearing manner, "Senior's methods are truly superb." Ling Shiqi felt that this person was very interesting. He knew that he was about to die, but he could still remain so calm. Just this alone was not something the other 5 could compare to. Ling Shiqi said, "What is your name?" "Yang Jingqi." "Answer a few of this old man's questions and you might be able to live." Chapter 203. Yang Jingqi said, "Since I'm going to die anyway, why should I answer your question?" Ling Shiqi shook his head and retracted the last one flame. He formed a spirit seal and summoned a blood-colored centipede that was as thick as an arm. The blood-colored centipede flashed and entered Yang Jingqi's body, gnawing on his flesh and blood. Yang Jingqi's entire body trembled and began to spasm. Yang Jingqi was in so much pain that he was sweating profusely, but he still gritted his teeth and said, "I only want to die quickly." Ling Shiqi's spirit seal changed and he controlled the centipede curse to stop. Yang Jingqi's complexion became better and he said, "This old man said just now, as long as you answer my question, you may not die, but you have to be my slave for 3 months. This centipede curse will be sealed in your body for 3 months, after that, you can leave on your own." Yang Jingqi was originally so unyielding because he was prepared to die, but now, a trace of life appeared in front of him, causing his will to be less firm. Even if what the other party said was false, he could still live for 3 more months. People in desperate situations may be able to explode with unimaginable strength and willpower, but if there was a way out, most people would still choose to retreat. Yang Jingqi was like this. He hesitated for a moment and sighed, "Ask away." Ling Shiqi secretly smiled and asked, "In this period of time, did anything special happen in the demon-suppressing town and the demonic miasma mountain range?" Yang Jingqi first looked at Ling 17 suspiciously, and then said honestly, "Since 2 months ago, a few rank 3 demonic beasts suddenly appeared in the periphery of the demonic miasma mountain range, causing many elite demonic hunter squads to suffer heavy losses. This matter also attracted the attention of many people at the beginning, and the number of people entering the mountain range decreased by a lot. However, more than half of the spirit cultivators in the demon-suppressing town rely on hunting monsters for a living. In order to survive, they still have to enter the mountain range. But that time, less than 30% of the people who entered the mountain range returned. The reason was that rank 3 monsters were appearing one after another like bamboo shoots after a rain. The entire demon-suppressing town suddenly became tense, and about a month ago, the Imperial Beast House and Blood Beast sect of the world ranking released news that there might be a beast tide in the demonic miasma mountain range. Beast tide? Ling Shiqi paused when he heard this. He could understand what the beast tide meant. But according to his observation in the demonic miasma mountain range for so long, although there were many rank 3 demonic beasts in the periphery, they didn't seem to have any intention of coming out of the mountain range. From Ling Shiqi's point of view, it was more likely that they were chased out by something from the inner region. Moreover, the news of the beast tide was spread by the Imperial Beast Camp and the Blood Beast sect. This made Ling Shiqi even more suspicious. He asked, "You believe the news released by the Imperial Beast Abode and the Blood Beast sect?" Yang Jingqi was a little surprised and replied, "Both of them are top sects that are unreachable, and both of them are related to demonic beasts. They shouldn't be deliberately spreading false information. They risked their lives to bring this news out from the inner region. Moreover, the current situation is indeed very similar to the beast tide outbreak recorded in history." Ling Shiqi naturally didn't believe it in his heart, but he still nodded, indicating for Yang Jingqi to continue. Since then, the demon-suppressing town has been in a state of panic. On the same day, a large number of spirit cultivators left the demon-suppressing town. Now, other than the local residents and the merchants, there are almost no spirit cultivators left in the city. Even the city lord's mansion has decided to seal the city in 3 days. The few of us originally planned to do a few transactions before leaving before the city was sealed, but we didn't expect to meet Senior. When Leng Shiqi heard this, what he cared about the most was not the sealing of the city, but another matter. He said, "Are there any experts from the Imperial Beast Abode and the Blood Beast sect here?" A trace of fanaticism suddenly appeared in Yang Jingqi's eyes. Senior may not know, but these days, the experts of the two sects have been coming one after another. Just the Spirit Pulse realm alone has dozens of spirit cultivators. There are also several Unity of Heaven realm experts who are on par with the City Lord. There are even rumors that experts above the 4 realms of Heaven realm have come to the demon-suppressing town. Experts above the 4 realms of Heaven realm? Leng Shiqi was also shocked. Now that the Spirit Pulse realm was a huge mountain blocking his path of cultivation, he could not imagine what kind of terrifying realm was above the 4 realms of Heaven realm. This made him think of Elder Mu and Elder Gu, who brought him and Delta Origi to the Blood Cloak Pavilion. If such an expert really came to the demonic Miasma mountain range, then there must be treasures in the mountain range that surpass the knowledge of mortals. Roar! Just as Leng Shiqi was thinking, the sound of demonic beasts suddenly came from behind. Leng Shiqi and Yang Jingqi's expressions changed slightly. He hurriedly said, "We're almost at the demon-suppressing town, and there are still demonic beasts coming out? Let's enter the city first." Then, the two of them ran without stopping. Not long after, they saw the towering city walls of the demon-suppressing town that were as tall as mountains. The city gate, which was originally bustling with people, was now empty. Only a few teams of city guards were patrolling nervously. When the two of them walked into the city and saw the empty plaza, Leng Shiqi couldn't help but sigh. More than 2 months ago, there were still countless spirit cultivators who were called demon hunters, gathered in the demon-suppressing demon city. Now, just the news of the possibility of a beast-tide riot was enough to make these demon hunters flee. It was truly ironic. Leng Shiqi looked around and suddenly realized that there was a huge wooden board in the middle of the plaza. There seemed to be many words written on it. Yang Jingqi's voice sounded out at the right time. "Senior, that's a notice from the city lord's mansion recruiting city guards." Recruiting city guards? That's right. After the news of the beast tide came out, things became more and more tense. A few days ago, the Thunder Fire Dynasty mobilized 10,000 Scarlet Thunder Army to guard the demon-suppressing town. It's just that the Scarlet Thunder Army is too far away. I'm afraid it will take a few days for them to arrive, and the demon-suppressing town only has 2,000 city guards. Although the city guards are all spirit cultivator and there are many experts, there are still too few of them. Therefore, the city lord's mansion began to recruit city guards. As long as they are willing to join, they will be treated very well. But even so, almost no one will stay here at this time. Leng Shiqi's eyes lit up. He knew that there was an 80% chance that the so-called beast tide would not erupt in the demon miasma mountain range. With his own strength, it would be difficult for him to hunt demonic beasts in the mountain range. If he couldn't hunt demonic beasts, he wouldn't have the demonic blood to quickly increase his cultivation. However, the news of the recruitment of city guards made him think of a way. He immediately said, "Take me to the recruitment place." Chapter 204. When Yang Jingqi heard Leng Shiqi's words, he could not help but be stunned. He asked in astonishment, "Senior, don't you want to leave the demon-suppressing city?" Leng Shiqi said righteously, "We spirit cultivators not only need to cultivate the spirit chi of heaven and earth, but also need to cultivate our bodies and hearts. Now that the beast tide is approaching, if we don't step forward, who will protect the weak residents of the city?" Yang Jingqi looked at Leng Shiqi's boundless righteousness and found it hard to guess whether he was telling the truth or not. Thus, he decided to believe him for the time being. He probed, "But, in a few days, the Scarlet Thunder Army will be here. That is one of the most elite armies of the Thunder Fire Dynasty. It doesn't matter if the two of us are here or not. Don't worry, because of this, we won't be in too much danger even if we join the city guards. Moreover, with this old man here, I can guarantee your safety. Let's go. Ling Shiqi's final attitude was very unyielding. Yang Jingqi was helpless, his life was still in the hands of Ling Shiqi, he did not dare to disobey, and could only bring Ling Shiqi to the place where the city guards were recruited, which was the city lord's mansion. The city lord's mansion in the demon-suppressing city was completely different from the one in the Shangyang city. In the Donglin County, due to the existence of the Mountain Sea sect, a powerful and wealthy top force, the power of the Spirit Cultivator sect in the Donglin County was higher than that of the Thunderfire dynasty. Even in a small success like Shangyang City, not to mention the Spirit Cultivator sect, even the Three Blades Association and the Chinko Hall could contend against the City Lord's mansion. However, it was different in the Eternal Peace County. Because of the Demon Miasma mountain range, there were no top forces in the world ranking. The Thunderfire dynasty completely controlled the Eternal Peace County. For a city like the demon-suppressing city, which was full of spirit cultivators, the city lord's position was held by a great expert of the unity of heaven and man realm. The selection of the city guards was also extremely strict. From their background, past experience, cultivation realm, talent, potential, and other aspects, they had to go through layers of selection before they could join the city guards. Therefore, the city guards were all elites with cultivation, talent, and methods. After all, their usual duty was to maintain the stability of the city. If they wanted to intimidate the spirit cultivators from all over the world, they would not be able to do so without some strength and methods. Now that the situation was special, there were almost no requirements for the recruitment of the city guards. As long as you were willing, you could join. However, when Ling Shiqi and Yang Jingqi arrived at the gate of the city lord's mansion, it could be said to be extremely desolate. Other than a few people setting up a table, there was no one else. At this moment, the thin man sitting at the table wearing the light armor of the city guard saw Ling Shiqi's group arrive. He sensed that they were both at the late stage of the spirit transformation realm and immediately got up to greet them. I am Wei Hongyi, the corporal of the third guard of the demon-subduing city. May I know your names? Ling Shiqi secretly probed and found that he couldn't see through this person's cultivation at all. He replied, I am Lu Xingji, and this is my young friend Yang Jingqi. We are here to join the city guards and contribute to the demon-subduing city. It's true. That's great. Wei Hongyi was originally just guessing. Now that he heard Ling Shiqi directly say that he wanted to join the city guards, he was naturally very happy. As long as there was one more person in the city guards, the danger they had to bear would be reduced. Moreover, he was on duty today, so anyone who was recruited would be directly under his command. Ling Shiqi said again, I just don't know what the conditions are for joining the city guards. Wei Hongyi waved his hand, both of you are at the late stage of the spirit transformation realm. If you are willing to help the demon-subduing city at this time, the city guards will welcome you. However, I still have to record your information. This way, please. Wei Hongyi led Ling Shiqi and Yang Jingqi to the table next to him and handed over a piece of paper. The contents of the paper were some basic questions. Ling Shiqi picked up the pen and began to write. After a while, they returned the paper to Wei Hongyi. He lowered his head and glanced at it a few times. Then, he revealed a look of surprise and looked at Ling Shiqi and asked, Elder Lu is a spirit cultivator? That's right. Does Corporal Wei not believe me? As Ling Shiqi spoke, a cold aura appeared under his feet. The people beside him suddenly felt a chill and shivered. Wei Hongyi saw this and laughed heartily. Elder Lu is thinking too much. From now on, the two of you are part of the city guards and belong to my third guard. Ling Shiqi immediately cupped his hands and said, Greetings, Corporal Wei. Yang Jingqi also said something in agreement. Wei Hongyi reached out to support Ling Shiqi and said, Elder Lu, I don't dare to accept this. Ling Shiqi knew that the reason Wei Hongyi was so warm to him was not only because he was at the 9th level of the spirit transformation realm, but also because he was a spirit cultivator. Although a spirit cultivator's combat strength was not very strong before reaching the 4th level of the sky realm, they could play a vital role in group battles. Then, Wei Hongyi personally led Ling Shiqi and Yang Jingqi through the procedures, received the light armor and waist token of the city guards, and finally came to a courtyard. Wei Hongyi said, "The two of you can rest here. These are all spirit cultivators that I have recruited. In the future, you will form your own guards, so you can get familiar with them first." Leng Shiqi nodded and said, "Thank you, Corporal Wei. I still have duties to do, so I won't disturb the two of you." Leng Shiqi and Yang Jingxi politely said a few words and sent Wei Hongyi off. They walked into the courtyard and saw more than 10 people talking in the courtyard. Most of them were spirit cultivators of the spirit transformation realm. These people were the people who had been recruited before them. When they saw someone coming, they all looked over. When they noticed that Leng Shiqi was at the 9th level of the spirit transformation realm, they all had different expressions. Among them, those in the pure spirit realm looked at each other and revealed a look of anticipation. The faces of two people in the spirit transformation realm sank. Leng Shiqi's gaze immediately fell on these two people. Their cultivations were also at the 9th level of the spirit transformation realm. At this moment, a voice rang out, "It seems that there is one more candidate for the captain's position." Leng Shiqi looked at the person who spoke and was a little surprised. That person was actually Huyan Men. However, the current Huyan Men did not look simple and honest at all. Instead, he looked very shrewd. Leng Shiqi secretly remembered this person. When he thought about the captain's position, he understood everything. He kindly said, "This old man is Lu Xingji. I have just arrived. I wonder how this old man became a candidate for the captain's position." Another person said, "We will form our own guards. The captain's position will naturally be won by the capable." Senior Lu, Deng Li, and Ding Zhou are all at the 9th level of the spirit transformation realm. The captain will definitely be one of the three. Leng Shiqi nodded and said in a flat tone, "In that case, this old man will not decline the captain's position." Chapter 205. The moment Leng Shiqi spoke, everyone's expression changed, especially Deng Li and Ding Xiu. Deng Li was a young man with a thin face, unlike his name. He held a sword wrapped in rags in his arms and said with an unfriendly expression, "Old man, you're already so old. Aren't you afraid of biting your tongue when you talk big?" Ding Zhou, on the other hand, was around 50 years old and a bit sloppy. His small eyes narrowed into slits as he said in a strange tone, "Still calling yourself an old man? Do you really think you're something?" These two people were originally competitors, but now that Leng Shiqi had stood out and acted so arrogantly, it made both of them look bad. They actually had a common enemy. Leng Shiqi said, "Oh, that little brother just said that the position of captain belongs to the capable. Could that be a lie? Humph. Arrogant. Let me see if you have the ability." Deng Li's face was filled with anger. He clenched his sword and looked like he was about to attack. Ding Zhou still narrowed his small eyes and remained unmoved. Leng Shiqi stretched out a finger and beckoned. Although he didn't say anything, everyone could feel the contempt in his voice. Deng Li was young and aggressive. He directly pulled out his sword and stabbed out. His sword was a bit strange. The body of the sword, including the hilt, was completely black. At first glance, it looked like a burnt stick. However, the sword energy coming from the sword was extremely sharp. It was quite rare in the spirit transformation realm. Leng Shiqi's left palm flickered with starlight, and a small light blue formation appeared in front of him. A huge sword made of ice emerged from the formation. Leng Shiqi pushed his palm forward, and then an enormous sword of ice that carried an extremely cold aura surged out from it. The giant sword of ice collided with Deng Li's black sword and let out an ear-piercing sound. Upon closer inspection, several cracks appeared on Leng Shiqi's giant sword of ice, but Deng Li's black sword was completely frozen. Leng Shiqi's hand seal changed and the giant sword of ice suddenly turned into a mass of cold air that was enough to block out vision. It was about to swallow Deng Li. Deng Li was still a spirit cultivator at the 9th level of the spirit transformation realm. Shocked, he quickly retreated, but just as he was about to move, a few stone pillars as thick as an arm suddenly appeared beside his feet, blocking his path of retreat. The dense cold air completely enveloped Deng Li. When the cold air dissipated, only a lifelike ice sculpture was left. Other than Yang Jingqi, everyone else was stunned at this time, but they immediately burst into exclamations. Spirit Mage. Spirit Transformation Realm spirit mages are so powerful. Subduing Deng Li in one move, I think there's no need to fight for the position of team leader anymore. It's not just subdued. Look at Deng Li, he still can't break through the layer of ice. If Senior Lu continues to attack, he will lose his life. Tisk tsk, no wonder I heard people say that the older a spirit caster is, the more terrifying they are. In fact, it was true. For a normal spirit cultivator, or more accurately, for a martial artist, middle age was the peak of their life. As one grew older, whether it was the body or qi and blood, they would gradually weaken. Naturally, their strength would also slowly decline. This was also the reason why Deng Li and Ding Zhou did not put Ling Shiqi in their eyes at the beginning. However, for a spirit mage, they were not afraid of the aging of their body and the decline of their blood. As long as there was no problem with their spiritual energy and mental strength, they would still be able to unleash their strongest fighting strength. In fact, the older a spirit mage was, the purer their spiritual energy and the higher their mental strength. Therefore, the older a spirit mage was, the scarier they were. Ding Zhou secretly curled his lips and thought that he was lucky that he did not act rashly. It was best to have Deng Li test the opponent's strength. However, he did not expect that this test would cause him to lose his chance to compete for the position of leader. Ding Zhou stood up straight and clasped his hands towards Ling Shiqi. Elder Lu's strength is outstanding. I am ashamed of my inferiority. His words made his position clear. At this moment, bang sound was heard. Deng Li finally broke through the ice layer. There was still a lot of ice on his face. Even though he used his spiritual energy to expel the cold, it still caused him to shiver. The way Deng Li looked at Ling Shiqi immediately changed. There was fear, humiliation, and a little unwillingness in his eyes. He left at a goodbye and walked back to his room. Ling Shiqi thought to himself, as expected, he is still too young. Originally, Deng Li and Ding Zhou did not like Ling Shiqi. In the end, Deng Li was used as an example to others, leaving the impression that he was impulsive and rash. On the other hand, Ding Zhou had completely changed into a good person. He asked about Ling Shiqi's well-being. The difference between people was very obvious. Ding Zhou eagerly walked up to Ling Shiqi and said with a smile, "Captain, I will need you to take care of me in the future." Ling Shiqi shook his head and said, "This old man is not worthy of the title of captain. Perhaps in a few days, there will be someone stronger than this old man." Ding Zhou immediately patted his chest and said, "Of course not. Even if that is the case, I, Ding Zhou, will support Elder to be the captain." "Oh. Then I really have to thank Brother Ding. By the way, how about you introduce this old man to everyone here?" "I actually forgot about this. What a sin. Come, stand over here. This is Wang Lin, he is at the 6th layer of the spirit transformation realm. This is..." Ding Zhou enthusiastically introduced the other people to Ling Shiqi, and they all enthusiastically greeted him. If nothing unexpected happened, Ling Shiqi would soon be their captain, so of course they had to flatter him. When Ding Zhou introduced Hu Yanmen, Ling Shiqi looked at him a few more times, but he didn't say anything. He didn't use the aura concealing technique to hide his cultivation because he wanted to smoothly join the city guard and have a place in the city guard. When Hu Yanmen saw Ling Shiqi again, he found that his cultivation had soared from the 4th layer of the spirit transformation realm to the 9th layer of the spirit transformation realm. He guessed that Ling Shiqi had used some kind of method to hide his cultivation. His eyes lit up, but no one knew what he was thinking. After a while, Ling Shiqi got to know everyone. He also took out some pills and materials that he didn't need and gave them to everyone as a greeting gift. Everyone's enthusiasm toward him increased even more. Only Yang Jingqi's eyes twitched slightly. This was because he knew that the things Ling Shiqi gave out were from the robbers he had killed before. Leng Shiqi had first shocked everyone with his powerful strength, and now he had taken out some benefits. His position as captain would be secured, and things would go smoothly in the future. After that, he exchanged a few pleasantries with everyone. Ding Zhou acted as a guide again and helped Leng Shiqi find the best room to settle down in. Chapter 206. That night, Leng Shiqi didn't rest or cultivate. Instead, he sat in his room waiting for someone. Soon, there was a knock on the door. Leng Shiqi said, "Come in." The door was pushed open and a young man walked in. It was Huyan Men. Huyan Men looked at Leng Shiqi, who was sitting on the chair, and said, "Senior Lu knew I would come?" Leng Shiqi said, "It's just a guess." "Sit." Huyan Men didn't hold back and sat across from Leng Shiqi. Senior Lu was at the 4th level of the spirit transformation realm 2 months ago. Now you're at the 9th level of the spirit transformation realm? And you're an extremely rare spirit cultivator. Senior really hit it well. Leng Shiqi said, "Same to you." Little friend Huyan Men, if you have something to say, just say it. Huyan Men was stunned for a moment. He originally prepared some excuses, but he didn't need to use them. He simply said, "Junior came here to make a deal with Senior." "Oh? Let's hear it." Leng Shiqi revealed an interested expression. Huyan Men took out a thin booklet and placed it on the table between them. This is a secret technique that Junior obtained by chance. It's called the soul-splitting art. This secret technique can split your consciousness into 2 parts. One part can control the body while the other part can be immersed in the spiritual space. Senior Lu is a spirit cultivator and should know the value of this soul-splitting art. When Leng Shiqi heard this, his eyes flashed with a strange light. The power of a spirit cultivator's spirit technique was not only related to the strength of the spirit force, but also the strength of the spirit force. To increase the spirit force, one had to immerse their consciousness in the spiritual space and slowly refine it. This process required a long time of refinement to steadily increase the spirit force. However, a person's time was limited. As a spirit cultivator, they had to cultivate their spirit force and spirit techniques at the same time. Because of this, they had very little time to refine their spirit force. However, with the soul-splitting art, it was completely different. This way, they could split a part of their consciousness to refine their spirit force in the spiritual space. It could be said that his spiritual power was growing at every moment. However, there are drawbacks to splitting one's consciousness into 2 halves. For example, when Leng Shiqi first met Huyan Men, he looked like a simpleton and was always half a beat slower in everything he did. Overall, this soul-splitting technique was indeed extraordinary. However, Leng Shiqi did not think that Huyan Men was a spirit caster, so what was the part of his consciousness that he sent out? Leng Shiqi did not pick up the booklet. Instead, he asked, "Huyan, what do you want?" Huyan Men smiled faintly and said, "What this junior wants is Senior Lu's concealment technique." Leng Shiqi thought to himself that this was indeed the case. The breath-holding technique was not a high-level secret technique, but it was very practical. Moreover, it could have unexpected effects at certain times. Exchanging the breath-holding technique for the mind-splitting technique didn't seem like a bad deal. However, Leng Shiqi was still puzzled. Huyan Men should be a disciple of a spirit cultivator sect. Then, he used the soul-splitting technique to hide his shrewdness and wanted to use the breath-holding technique to hide his cultivation. What was he trying to do? According to Leng Shiqi's understanding of spirit cultivator sects, their disciples should be eager to let everyone know how high their cultivation was so that they would be valued more. Huyan Men saw that Leng Shiqi was silent and thought that Leng Shiqi was not satisfied. He continued, "Senior Lu, don't be too greedy. To a spirit cultivator, the value of the soul-splitting technique is comparable to a rank 4 spirit technique. What is Senior Lu hesitating for? This old man can accept this deal, but this old man still has a small condition." Leng Shiqi replied. Huyan Men frowned slightly. He was afraid that Leng Shiqi would demand an exorbitant price, but he still said, "Senior, please tell me." Tonight's matter will only be known to the heavens and earth. It cannot be spread to a third person. This old man can see that Huyan Men is not simple, but people like him are often the ones who stir up trouble the most. I don't want to implicate this old man in the future. When Huyan Men heard this, he let out a sigh of relief. He smiled and said, "Senior Lu, you worry too much. As long as this junior leaves this door, even if you beat me to death, I will not admit that I came to find Senior tonight." Ling Shiqi nodded and said, "That's good. Little friend, please wait for a moment." Then, Ling Shiqi found a pen and paper in the room and wrote down the breath-holding technique. The two exchanged the breath-holding technique and soul-splitting technique and obtained what they wanted. Ling Shiqi looked at the small booklet in his hand. A line of words appeared in front of his eyes that only he could see. He knew that this soul-splitting technique was real, so he said, "The breath-holding technique is not difficult to practice. With little friend Huyan Men's talent, you should be able to master it in less than an hour. Why don't you try practicing it with this old man to verify its authenticity?" "Senior Lu, why would you deceive this junior? There's no need to verify its authenticity. It's already late, so this junior will not disturb Senior Lu's rest," Huyan Men said politely. Of course, Ling Shiqi would not keep him and send him out. After returning, Ling Shiqi began to try to practice the soul-splitting technique. This secret technique did not have small success, large success, or great perfection. If you can learn it, you can learn it. If you can't, you can't. He directly used his skill points to learn the soul-splitting technique. Then, he began to experiment. Ling Shiqi sat down cross-legged and closed his eyes. Shortly after, his consciousness arrived in a pitch-black spiritual space. He controlled his spiritual body to circulate the soul-splitting technique. A part of Ling Shiqi's spiritual body gradually split out. The size was only about 1/10 of the original body. Moreover, that small part of it still had its own consciousness and was wandering around. Then, Ling Shiqi left the spiritual space. He opened his eyes. If one looked carefully, one would notice that his eyes were missing a hint of shrewdness. Interesting, but if I split out too little, the speed of refining spiritual power will be too slow. Ling Shiqi whispered to himself. Then, Ling Shiqi directly split out half of his spiritual body. At this time, he looked a little dull. There was a hint of turbidity in his eyes. Ling 17 looked around. In his eyes, he could still see his surroundings very clearly, but there was always a kind of feeling that his head was heavy and his feet were light. He muttered, "What a strange feeling. It's a bit like I haven't woken up yet. I wonder if I can cultivate like this?" Thinking of this, Ling Shiqi immediately tried to practice the 7 Fiends art of blood slaughter. After a short while, Ling Shiqi opened his eyes and revealed a hint of joy. In this state, it did not affect his cultivation. In other words, he could cultivate spiritual power and refine spiritual power at the same time. Ling Shiqi's mouth raised into a silly smile. Then, he immersed himself in his cultivation. Chapter 207. On the third day, the demon-subduing city was sealed and the recruitment of the city guards was over. On this day, Wei Hongyi came to the courtyard to gather everyone. In the past 3 days, there was only one more person, so there were a total of 15 people standing here. Wei Hongyi gave an impassioned speech. A few of the younger people revealed excited expressions, but most of them just nodded perfunctorily. Wei Hongyi saw that it was about time and finally got down to business. "Everyone, you have all been together for a few days. I said before that you would form a guard and the captain's position would be decided by yourselves. Does anyone have a choice now?" At this moment, Ding Zhou stepped forward. Wei Hongyi saw that he was at the 9th layer of the spirit transformation realm and secretly nodded. However, he didn't expect Ding Zhou to say, "Corporal Wei, we fully support Elder Lu as our captain." "That's right, I also support Elder Lu. Elder Lu is highly respected, the captain's position should be his." "That's right, Elder Lu's strength is outstanding and he is kind." I admire him. Everyone else also supported Leng Shiqi. Only Dang Li stood on the side with an expressionless face. Wei Hongyi's expression suddenly froze. He wasn't surprised that Leng Shiqi could become the captain, but he was surprised that everyone else supported him so much. Leng Shiqi didn't know whether to laugh or cry. In the past 2 days, he had spent some time teaching the others how to cultivate their spirit techniques. He had dozens of spirit techniques at the peak of the spirit transformation realm, so he had a lot of experience in this area. His prestige in this small courtyard was really high. Wei Hongyi walked up to Leng Shiqi and said, I didn't expect Elder Lu to be so respected. Since no one has any objections, I officially announce Lu Xingji as the captain of the 8th Guard. This is the captain's token. Elder Lu, take it. As he spoke, he took out a light silver token and handed it over. Leng Shiqi took the token with both hands and said, Thank you, Captain Wei, and everyone else for your support. This old man is ashamed. Wei Hongyi said, in the city guard, high positions have always been occupied by the capable. Elder Lu accepted it calmly. Okay, everyone, follow me to the drill ground. The commander wants to see you all. Senior Commander? The Grand Commander of the City Guards wants to meet us personally. Hearing Wei Hongyi's words, a few people suddenly exclaimed. Leng Shiqi also figured out the structure of the City Guards these days. The highest power of the City Guards was the commander Lei Yuanwu, who was in the realm of Gang's spirit realm. It was said that he was a relative of the royal family. There were also 2 vice-commanders, both of whom were experts at the spirit aperture realm. Every vice-commander had 5 to 6 Dekarches under their command, just like Wei Hongyi, who was a spirit pulse realm cultivator. Each Dekarch had 7 or 8 captains under them, and they were usually spirit cultivators at the 9th level of the spirit transformation realm. Each guard had around 20 people. There were about 2,000 city guards in total. At this time, Wei Hongyi put on a stern face and said in a deep voice, The Grand Commander usually dislikes people making a fuss. You are new here and don't know the rules. When you see the Grand Commander later, don't speak carelessly. When those people saw that Wei Hongyi was a little displeased, they immediately fell silent. Then Wei Hongyi took Leng Shiqi and the others to the big drill ground in the city lord's mansion. When they arrived, there were already a lot of people gathered here. At a rough glance, there were more than 1,000 people. These people were all wearing silver light armor, and they all stood in an orderly manner. There were obviously a lot of people gathered here, but no one spoke. They could only hear the light footsteps of people coming from all around. Wei Hongyi once again gestured for everyone to be silent and led them to stand at the side of the drill ground. Leng Shiqi looked around and found that more than 70% of these city guards were spirit transformation realm cultivators. Only a few of them were in the pure spirit realm. These people either had status or talent. He couldn't help but think of the city guards of Shangyang City. As the Grand Commander, Zhong Lin Kai was only at the late stage of the spirit transformation realm. There were even some ordinary people in the guards below. They were all city guards. The gap between them was like the difference between clouds and mud. Not long after, all the city guards arrived. A man with a square face and a very serious face walked over accompanied by 2 people. He was the Grand Commander of the City Guards of Demon Suppressing City, Lei Yuanwu. Wei Hongyi and the other sergeants all half-knelt on the ground and shouted respectfully, Greetings, Grand Commander. Greetings, Grand Commander. The others also saluted. Lei Yuanwu nodded lightly. Only then did everyone stand up. His deep voice sounded, Today, I will only say one thing. Tomorrow, go out of the city to clear out the demonic beasts. His words were concise and comprehensive, but they were even more shocking. Especially those who had just joined the city guards in the past few days. The reason why they joined the city guards at this time was not entirely to protect their country. Most of them wanted to take the opportunity to make a living, and some wanted to gild a layer of gold. But they never thought that Lei Yuanwu would let them take the initiative to go out of the city to clear out the demonic beasts. One had to know that even the periphery of the demonic miasma mountain range was filled with rank 3 demonic beasts. What's more, everyone said that there would be a beast tide. At this time, instead of taking the opportunity to build defensive fortifications, they had to take the initiative to enter the demonic miasma mountain range. Besides, the Crimson Thunder army would arrive in a few days. Even if they wanted to take the initiative to attack, they had to wait until the Crimson Thunder army arrived. Was the Grand Commander crazy? However, no one in the drill ground said a word. Obviously, they had been told before. As for the original city guards, they did not dare to disobey the Grand Commander's orders. Leng Shiqi was delighted. The purpose of joining the city guards was to use their strength to enter the demonic miasma mountain range and secretly refine the demonic blood. Now that Lei Yuanwu had such a plan, it was really what Leng Shiqi wanted. It saved him a lot of effort. Lei Yuanwu was very satisfied with everyone's reaction. He then said, "I know you have a lot of doubts. I will only say one thing. I will not let you die. Vice Commander Qiao will tell you the details." The old man in luxurious clothes behind Lei Yuanwu stepped forward and said the specific mission of clearing out the demonic beasts. Leng Shiqi understood when he heard Vice Commander Qiao's words. The main mission of clearing out the demonic beasts this time was to test the demonic beast's strength. First of all, they had to occupy a place within 10 miles of the demon-suppressing town as a buffer. At the same time, they had to see if the change in the demonic miasma mountain range this time would lead to a beast tide. Moreover, the third-ranked demonic beasts would naturally be dealt with by the masters of the celestial realm. The ordinary city guards only needed to hunt second-ranked demonic beasts. In addition, the materials obtained from killing the demonic beasts would belong to them. The city guards would even have additional rewards. At this time, everyone's hearts were at ease. Leng Shiqi had a different idea in his heart. Chapter 208. At noon the next day, nearly 2,000 city guards gathered in the square of the demon-suppressing town, including the commander Lei Yuanwu and the 2 deputy commanders. It was just that those spirit cultivators of the pure spirit realm did not participate in this mission. For them, even if it was a rank 2 demonic beast, it was difficult for them to deal with. Even if they went out, they would die in vain. Such a commotion naturally attracted the attention of everyone in the city. Many people gathered together from afar and chatted with each other. There are not many people in the city. What are the city guards doing? Don't you know? Yesterday, the city guards said that they would go out of the city to eliminate the demonic beasts. What? Go out of the city? But there are many rank 3 demonic beasts outside. Don't you see that man? That's Lei Yuanwu, the commander of the city guards, a master of the spirit gang realm. With Commander Lei, the rank 3 demonic beasts can be killed easily. What's there to be afraid of? But even so, casualties are unavoidable. Yes, so it's our fortune to have such a commander and such a city guard. Leng Shiqi was also standing in the crowd in light armor, but because he was a little short, he was very inconspicuous in the crowd. Squeak, the gate of the demon-suppressing town was opened, making a heavy sound. Lei Yuanwu didn't talk much nonsense. He waved his hand and took the lead to walk out of the city. The 2,000 city guards behind him passed through the gate like fish. Not long after they left the demon-suppressing town, they could hear the roars of the demonic beasts. At this time, Lei Yuanwu said, "After an hour, all the Dakarches will enter the mountain range, and then after an hour, all the guards will enter." Everyone said in unison, "We obey the Grand Commander's orders." Then Lei Yuanwu walked straight into the demon miasma mountain range with the 2 deputy commanders. Leng Shiqi looked at the 3 people and knew that the masters of the 4 realms of celestial being were the real main force of eliminating the demonic beasts this time, and the more than 1,000 spirit cultivators of the spirit transformation realm were just assisting in eliminating the rank 2 demonic beasts. Lei Yuanwu was a master of gang spirit realm, and the 2 deputy commanders were also in spirit aperture realm. The 3rd rank evil beast was indeed powerful, but it was nothing in front of the 3 of them. Not long after the 3 of them rushed into the mountain range, the miserable howls of demonic beasts could be heard. These sounds were incessant, and only stopped after an hour. At this moment, Wei Hongyi and the other Dakarches knew that it was time for them to act. The Grand Commander and the others had already killed most of the Class 3 demonic beasts. The rest of the demonic beasts would be left to them to deal with. Wei Hongyi turned to Ling Shiqi and the other captains and said, "When you enter the demonic miasma mountains, don't be rash and greedy. Every guard will only deal with one second-order demon beast. I hope that when I return, all of you will still be here." The captains, including Ling Shiqi, said, "Yes, sir." Wei Hongyi nodded and entered the demonic miasma mountain range with the other Dakarches. The rest of the people still quietly obeyed the order and waited for an hour before they poured into the mountain range. Ling Shiqi entered from the side of the mountain range with his 7 spirit cultivators in the spirit transformation realm. The outermost Class 3 demonic beasts in the mountain range had been cleaned up by Lei Yuanwu and the others, but unfortunately, the corpses of the demonic beasts were gone. Originally, Ling Shiqi thought that he could pick them up, but now it seemed that the corpses of Class 3 demonic beasts were also valuable materials. Of course, Lei Yuanwu and the others would not leave them here. Now there were no Class 3 demonic beasts here. With the strength of the 8 of them, it was not difficult to kill Class 2 demonic beasts, but they did not relax at all. Soon, they found a Class 2 demonic beast, a 2-headed demonic wolf. Ling Shiqi took advantage of its unpreparedness and directly displayed the path of ice. In an instant, a large amount of cold air rushed out and sealed the 2-headed demonic wolf. The others also cooperated very well. After Ling Shiqi's cold air rushed out, they immediately raised their weapons and rushed forward. In an instant, all kinds of light flashed and the 2-headed demonic wolf's head was directly cut off. However, the 2-headed demonic wolf was not dead yet. Ling Shiqi flicked his finger and a fire arrow flew past, completely destroying the 2-headed demonic wolf's life force. At this time, Ding Zhou scratched his head. He felt a little unreal. He said, "This is a 2-headed demonic wolf. It is known for its ferocity among Class 2 demonic beasts. It is very difficult to deal with." It died just like that? Ding Zhou's words were also the thoughts of the others. They used to be demonic beast hunters and often fought with demonic beasts. Of course, they knew how difficult it was to deal with demonic beasts. If it was in the past, they would at least be injured if they wanted to kill the 2-headed demonic wolf. If they were not careful, they might even lose their lives. But now, they killed the 2-headed demonic wolf so easily. And the one who caused all of this was their captain, Ling Shiqi. It was Ling Shiqi who was the first to discover the 2-headed demon wolf. He used a powerful spell to seal it and frostbite it. That was why they were able to attack with all their strength without any hesitation. That was why they were able to kill the 2-headed demon wolf so easily. At this time, Ding Zhou said in a sincere tone, "Captain, I am completely convinced by you." Even Deng Li lowered his head, and the others naturally began to flatter him again. Only Yang Jingqi looked as if he was used to such a scene. Ling Shiqi waved his hand and said, Okay, deal with the demonic wolf's body. Go back and sell the valuable materials. Everyone will divide it equally." Ding Zhou immediately said, No, it was all thanks to Captain that we were able to kill this demonic beast. "How can we?" Ling Shiqi interrupted him. "Ding Zhou, you are treating me as an outsider." Ding Zhou paused and said, Okay, but I will remember Captain's kindness. Let's continue forward." After dealing with the 2-headed demonic wolf's body, they continued to walk deeper into the mountain range. They encountered more and more rank 2 demonic beasts. But every time they worked together, they easily killed the demonic beasts. Along the way, they also had a lot of demonic beast materials on them. At the same time, Wei Hongyi was fighting with a huge earth rat. This earth rat looked ordinary, but it was a genuine rank 3 demonic beast, earth-binding rat. Wei Hongyi's clothes had long been torn, and 4 crystal-clear spirit veins were exposed on his arms. He didn't use any weapons and only used his bare hands to beat up the earth-binding rat. Especially the center of the earth-binding rat's back, there was a bowl-sized bloody hole. Wei Hongyi suddenly smashed out with his fists. His spirit power violently moved, and he actually had the power to move mountains and rivers. The earth-binding rat's two small eyes spun around, and then it suddenly drilled into the ground. Then Wei Hongyi only saw a small bump on the ground, and it escaped at an astonishing speed. When Wei Hongyi saw the direction the earth-binding rat escaped, his face suddenly changed. He shouted, "Not good." Chapter 209. Boom! A huge demonic beast fell to the ground. Ding Zhou, Yang Jingqi, and the others habitually went up to skin the corpse. This was already the 9th rank 2 demonic beast that Ling Shiqi and the others had killed. If it was in the past, they wouldn't even dare to think that they could kill so many rank 2 demonic beasts in just half a day. This also included the time they had to rest and recover their spirit energy. They were all very glad that they had joined the city guards, and even more glad that Ling Shiqi had become the captain. Their harvest today alone was equivalent to what they had earned in the past month. Other than that, when they returned, the city guards would have additional rewards. The most important thing was that they didn't feel any pressure or danger at all. It was as if they had picked it up for free. Just as they were filled with joy, Ling Shiqi suddenly discovered that there was a small mound on the ground that was rapidly moving over, and he could even feel a huge aura from it. Ling Shiqi immediately shouted, "Get out of the way." Although his reminder was timely, the others reacted too slowly. Before he finished speaking, he saw a giant rat suddenly break out of the ground. Its two large and sharp front teeth bit down and directly tore a person in half. This demonic beast was the earthbound rat that Wei Hongyi had beaten to the point of fleeing. Third rank demonic beast? Everyone turned pale with fright. How could there be a 3rd rank demonic beast here? Weren't they all cleaned up by the great commander and the Descartes? However, even though they were shocked, they still hurriedly scattered. The earthbound rat licked the blood from the corner of its mouth, its eyes filled with ferocity. It had been beaten up by Wei Hongyi until it was covered in wounds, and it had escaped with great difficulty. Now that it had encountered a weak spirit cultivator of the spirit transformation realm, it could use it as a meal. The earthbound rat immediately locked onto another person, and that person was Deng Li. The earthbound rat opened its bloody mouth and bared its ferocious fangs as it pounced forward. Moreover, its speed was too fast, so fast that Deng Li had no chance of dodging it. He was young, and his will was not strong enough. At this time, his legs were actually trembling. Even if he wanted to run, he could not. Deng Li's face was filled with fear and despair, but just as he thought he was about to die, a thick ice wall suddenly appeared in front of him. At the same time, he felt someone push him, and a strong force pushed him to the side. Deng Li looked over in surprise and saw the back of a hunchbacked old man. It was Ling Shiqi. Caw. Bang! The ice wall looked very sturdy, but in front of the power of a rank 3 monster, it was still too weak. In the blink of an eye, it was shattered. Ling Shiqi moved his hands, and more than a dozen earth spikes appeared around him. He waved them forward, and all the earth spikes stabbed at the earthbound rat. The dozen or so earth spikes immediately crumbled, but at least they managed to block the earthbind rat's attack. Ling Shiqi shouted without turning his head, "Go back and meet up with the other guards." Deng Li subconsciously said, "What about you, Captain?" Unknowingly, he finally called out the word, "Captain." Perhaps he did not even realize it himself. Ling Shiqi still had his back to everyone, and said in a deep voice, "Go back. This is my order." After the earthbind rat's attack failed, it immediately stared at Ling Shiqi. It bared its teeth and was ready to attack again at any time. Seeing this situation, the others did not dare to stay any longer, but they never thought that someone would cover for them. They were all experienced people. Even before this, they only had a good impression of Ling Shiqi, but they were not sincere. But now, they finally knew that there was still friendship in this world. Ding Zhou secretly sighed and turned to run. In his opinion, spiritual casters were not good at fighting one-on-one. Ling Shiqi was probably dead. Yang Jingqi hesitated for a moment and followed closely behind. The reason he hesitated was not because he was touched by Ling Shiqi, but because if Ling Shiqi died here, he did not know when the centipede curse in his body would be lifted. Deng Li was the last to leave. Before he left, he said, "I will repay you for saving my life in the future." After everyone left, Ling Shiqi revealed a faint smile. If one looked at him from the front, they would find that Ling Shiqi's eyes had turned blue. The moment the earthbind rat rushed out of the ground, Ling Shiqi immediately noticed the wounds on its body, especially the bloody hole on its back. He immediately activated Byakugan. He found that although the earthbind rat looked extremely ferocious, many of its meridians were broken. Not only that, even the bones of one of its hind legs were cracked, and some of its organs were damaged. To put it simply, this earthbound rat was already seriously injured. Ling Shiqi was now at the 9th layer of the spirit transformation realm. He might be able to fight against a seriously injured rank 3 demonic beast. If he could kill the earthbind rat, not only could he use its demonic beast blood to increase his cultivation by leaps and bounds, he could also obtain a rank 3 demonic beast core. That was why he chose to stay, not to protect the others. Ling Shiqi stretched out his fingers and used them as a sword to shoot out 2 frosty sword energies. Without the support of a spirit sword, these 2 sword energies weren't very powerful and couldn't hurt the earthbind rat at all. However, they had successfully attracted its hatred. After shooting out the 2 rays of cold sword energy, Ling Shiqi stepped on the black fog and flew in the opposite direction from everyone. The earthbind rat was hit by the 2 rays of cold sword energy and immediately chased after Ling Shiqi. It was not slow at all. After a short while, Ling Shiqi saw that the earthbind rat was about to catch up. He activated Byakugan and saw that there was no one else around, so he relaxed. Ling Shiqi's body began to grow as he sped away. At the same time, a set of brown armor appeared on his body. At the same time, 9 demonic tattoos appeared on his right arm and his aura sword. Ling Shiqi had activated both the Spirit Ruin Beast King and the Zhu Crag Beast's Beast Origin Battle tattoos. Then, Ling Shiqi's body stopped abruptly. He turned around and punched out. This punch, enhanced by the double Beast Origin Battle runes, was like a tiger king treading on waves and breaking rivers. The earthbind rat was about to catch up to Ling Shiqi, but what greeted it was the ferocious tiger wave's stomping fist. The earthbind rat didn't care. It just opened its bloody mouth and was about to bite Ling Shiqi in half. Suddenly, a sticky black liquid shot out from its bloody mouth. Ling Shiqi's ferocious punch seemed to be unparalleled. However, with a slight movement of his feet, his body drifted away like a piece of cotton in the wind, narrowly avoiding the black liquid. However, the earthbind rat turned around nimbly and continued to bite Ling Shiqi. Ling Shiqi didn't panic at all. He moved again and appeared beside the earthbound rat in an instant. His fist actually caused the roar of a fierce tiger to ring out as it struck down. Chapter 210. Ling Shiqi's fierce tiger wave stomping fist finally landed on the earthbind rat's back, and it was aimed at the wound on its back. A violent force with a murderous intent penetrated deep into bound rat's wound. The force of the fist tore the wound even wider, and a surge of internal energy poured into his body, destroying his already broken body. Ling Shiqi had used several ultimate moves to kill the dying Zhu Crag beast not long ago, but that was because the Zhu Crag beast's defense was too strong, and the earthbind rat was obviously much weaker in this regard. Moreover, Ling Shiqi was even stronger than before. Squeak, squeak, the earthbind rat let out a strange scream. It wanted to fight back, but how could Ling Shiqi give it the chance? 2 purple curved blades appeared in his hands at some unknown time. The spirit force around him surged and 2 dreamy purple blade lights bloomed from the curved blades. With Ling Shiqi's cultivation at the 9th level of the spirit transformation realm, his half-moon light slash was almost 10 feet long. The 2 saber lights swallowed the earthbind rat like they were devouring the heavens and the earth. However, a layer of earth-colored light appeared on the earthbind rat's body. Ling Shiqi's half-moon light slash was blocked by this layer of light and couldn't move an inch forward. When the 2 collided, there was an ear-piercing sound. However, the earth-colored light on the earthbind rat was quickly fading, and Leng Shiqi's blade lights were also being worn down. Now, it was time for a battle of strength. Leng Shiqi had activated 2 beast origin battle tattoos and was amplified by the demonic tattoos. His strength was between the spirit transformation realm and the spirit vein realm. The earthbind rat was a rank 3 demonic beast, but it was seriously injured. This time, they felt like they were evenly matched. However, the earthbind rat was not simple. Just as they were in a stalemate, the earthbind rat's tail suddenly grew a lot longer and lashed out like a long whip. Leng Shiqi didn't expect the earthbind rat to have this kind of method. The tail was too fast, and even with the spirit steps, it was difficult to dodge. At this moment, Leng Shiqi had an idea. He controlled the 2 saber auras in front of him, just in time for the earthbind rat's tail to collide with the 2 extremely sharp saber auras. With a poochie sound, the earthbind rat's tail was directly cut into 2 halves. The earthbind rat immediately went berserk. Leng Shiqi hurriedly retreated. He withdrew his saber and formed a hand seal. At the same time, he pulled his arms forward, drawing a long stream of blood from the wound on the earthbind rat's back. The earthbind rat's aura suddenly weakened. With a thought from Leng Shiqi, 4 earthen walls rose around the earthbind rat, trapping it within. Of course, he didn't expect the earthbind rat's tail would be able to trap the earthbind rat. He was just trying to buy a bit of time. Sure enough, in the next moment, the 4 walls collapsed at the same time. The earthbind rat rushed at Leng Shiqi with red eyes. However, at this time, Leng Shiqi was holding the jade sword in his hand. There were 9 demonic patterns on the jade-colored sword, and the seemingly gentle jade light hid a dense killing intent. Just as the earthbind rat rushed over, Leng Shiqi's figure trembled and instantly turned into 18 phantoms. Soon after, the 18 jade swords pierced down from all angles with streaks of light blue frosty sword chi. The earthbind rat shattered several phantoms in the blink of an eye. At the same time, the earth-colored light appeared on its body again, but this time, the light was much dimmer and uneven. Under the observation of Leng Shiqi's Byakugan, the remaining 10 phantoms all found a flaw in the earth-colored light. The jade sword stabbed a dozen wounds, and at the same time, the frost sword chi entered the earthbind rat's body, causing frostbite in many parts of its flesh. The earthbind rat's body stiffened for a moment. Leng Shiqi stretched out a finger, and a layer of faint flames appeared at the tip of his finger. He wrote the word fire in the air. When the word fire finished its last stroke, it carried a rolling heat wave and landed on the earthbind rat's body. The blazing flames burned the earthbind rat's skin and flesh, and there was even faint black smoke coming out of it. At this time, Leng Shiqi sensed that the earthbind rat's life force was beginning to dissipate, and his body was gradually unable to take it. Just as he was about to give the earthbind rat the final blow, the earthbind rat opened its mouth and spat out 2 huge front teeth. Leng Shiqi reacted quickly and hurriedly dodged to the side, but he was still shot in the left shoulder by one of the front teeth. An unimaginably powerful force swept over, instantly sending Leng Shiqi flying. At the same time, a piercing pain came from his left shoulder. Leng Shiqi looked down. At this time, the armor on his left shoulder was completely broken, and a sharp blood-stained front tooth was embedded in his shoulder. He was shocked. The armor on his body could not be damaged by even a level 2 spirit weapon, but now it was completely shattered. Fortunately, he had this armor, otherwise, his entire shoulder and arm would have been separated, and he would not be far from death. Leng Shiqi was secretly shocked. Is this a level 3 monster beast? Even if it is seriously injured, it is not something that an ordinary spirit transformation realm cultivator can deal with. However, the earthbind rat without its front teeth was like a tiger with its teeth pulled out. Leng Shiqi endured the pain and pulled out his front teeth and used his spirit chi to seal the wound. He looked at the earthbind rat, whose aura was even weaker, and did not dare to be careless. He did not get close, but used a few spirit techniques to completely kill the earthbind rat. Immediately after, Leng Shiqi hurriedly removed the beast origin battle pattern. Then, his body staggered and he almost lost his balance. The consumption of the Zhu rock beast's beast origin battle pattern was even greater than he had imagined. At this moment, his entire body was extremely sore and weak. Fortunately, he had not fought with the earthbind rat for long and had not damaged his meridians. He then swallowed 2 pills to recover his spirit energy. Just as he was about to extract the earthbind rat's demon blood, he saw a familiar aura rushing over. It was Wei Hongyi. Leng Shiqi did not want to expose himself, so he directly put the earthbind rat's corpse into the system space and left. However, he did not go to meet up with his guards. Instead, he had other plans. Not long after, a worried Wei Hongyi rushed over. He could clearly recognize that there were traces of a battle between a spirit cultivator and a monster beast. Furthermore, he also discovered the earthbind rat's front teeth, so he knew that someone was fighting with the earthbind rat. Wei Hongyi observed his surroundings and muttered to himself in confusion, "Strange, there are traces of blood and front teeth of the earthbind rat here. It seems that the earthbind rat has been killed. But who did it? Could it be another squad leader? No, there are clearly traces of spirit techniques here. There are no spirit cultivators in the 4 realms of heaven in the city guards. Who could it be? Could it be that other than the city guards, there are others who have entered the demon miasma mountain range? That's not right. The demon-suppressing town has already been sealed. It's impossible for anyone else to come out. Strange, really strange." Chapter 211. After killing the earthbind rat, Leng Shiqi found a remote place and sank into the ground to recover his spirit force and heal his wounds. He looked at the wound that almost went through his shoulder and felt a bit of fear. He made up his mind to not be so reckless before he reached the spirit vein stage. Then he used pills and the netherworld rune diagram to treat his wounds. Unfortunately, the wound was too deep and would not heal in a short period of time. Right now, his entire left arm was weak and his spirit force was not flowing smoothly. He estimated that he could only use about 70% of his strength during this period of time. Since this was the case, he planned to rest for 2 days and refine the earthbind rat's demonic blood. After Leng Shiqi adjusted his condition, he took out the earthbind rat's corpse. He first dug out the earthbind rat's demonic core. It was a demonic core that looked like a mud ball. Leng Shiqi looked at the demonic core and hesitated. Since he had another rank 3 demonic core, if he refined this demonic core into a beast origin battle pattern, his battle strength would definitely increase. However, Leng Shiqi gave up in the end. First of all, the Spirit Ruin Beast King's beast origin battle pattern was very convenient for him. It could also change his body shape to hide his identity, so he did not want to change it so easily. Second of all, just the Vermilion Crag Beast's beast origin battle pattern was already too much for him. If he added the Earthbind Rat, he might not be able to start refining 2 beast origin battle patterns at the same time. Third of all, the Earthbind Rat's demonic core should be able to increase his Earth Spirit force. However, this was purely a support effect for Leng Shiqi, so he was not very satisfied with its attributes. If this Yao core had clearly increased his strength, Leng Shiqi would not have hesitated. Leng Shiqi could only put away the Earthbind Rat's demonic core. Then he began to refine the Earthbind Rat's demonic blood. With the experience of refining the Vermilion Crag Beast's demonic blood, Leng Shiqi was much more successful this time. He finished refining it in about half an hour. At this moment, his cultivation was very close to the peak of the 9th level of the Spirit Transformation Realm. Leng Shiqi estimated that he would be able to reach the peak of 9th stage as long as he refined less than 10 rank 2 demonic beasts' blood. This time, he followed the city guards to clear out the demonic beasts. Now that most of the rank 3 demonic beasts in the periphery had been cleared out, it wouldn't be difficult for him to hunt down 10 rank 2 demonic beasts. At this moment, he suddenly realized that if he had known that the city guards would leave the city to hunt down the demonic beasts, he wouldn't have needed to join the city guards and take such a long detour. However, he shook his head and muttered, "There's no if in this world. Besides, if I didn't join the city guards, I wouldn't have gotten the soul-splitting technique. At this moment, in the inner area of the demonic miasma mountain range, Lei Yuanwu and the two deputy commanders were standing with gloomy expressions. After the three of them massacred the tier 3 demonic beasts in the periphery, they planned to enter the inner area to see what the situation was like. However, after they entered the inner region, they realized that something was wrong. This place was too quiet. They had entered the inner region many times before, so they naturally knew that there were not only rank 3 demonic beasts in the inner region, but also rank 4 and rank 5 demonic beasts. It could be said that there were many demonic beasts in the inner region. However, they had been in the inner region for a long time, but they hadn't seen a single demonic beast. Lei Yuanwu said in a deep voice, "Deputy Commander Qiao, you're the most familiar with the inner region. What do you think?" Deputy Commander Qiao had lived in the demon-suppressing town for a long time and had entered the inner region many times. However, he shook his head and said, "Senior Commander, I've been in the demon-suppressing town for decades and have never seen the inner region so peaceful. There must be something going on." The other Deputy Commander Ma said, "It must be related to the Blood Beast sect and the Imperial Beast Abode. They were the ones who released the news about the demonic beast tide. Now, it seems that they were the ones behind it." Deputy Commander Qiao agreed with him, "That's right. At that time, I was suspicious. Why would these two sects travel thousands of miles from the northern wilderness to the demon-suppressing town? Not long after they arrived, they said that there would be a demonic beast tide. This is too coincidental. Moreover, even if what they said was true, why did they enter the demonic miasma mountain range and not return yet? All of these things show that the demonic miasma mountain range will not erupt with a demonic beast tide, but they are deliberately using this as an excuse to prevent spirit cultivators from easily setting foot in this place." Lei Yuanwu looked at Deputy Commander Qiao with admiration and said, "I've already guessed these things, and the old city lord also knows about it." The two deputy commanders were puzzled. If the old city lord knows, why would he let them do as they please? With this, the demon-suppressing town has become much more desolate. Lei Yuanwu sighed slightly, "So what if he knows? The old city lord is a great expert of the unity of heaven and man realm. He can intimidate a region, but in front of the two top sects, he has no room to speak. Do you know that one of the 3 great beast kings of the Imperial Beast Abode, the 1,000-legged Beast King, the great elder of the Blood Beast sect, Elder Xia, has personally come to the demonic miasma mountain range?" "What?" The two deputy commanders could not help but exclaim. Of course, they knew who the 1,000-legged Beast King of the Imperial Beast Abode and the great elder of the Blood Beast sect were. They were experts who surpassed the 4 realms of heaven. They were existences that they had to look up to. They had heard of the rumors before, but they had always thought that it was just a rumor. They did not expect it to be true. Why would such an expert personally come to the demonic miasma mountain range? Could it be that there was a peerless treasure in the mountain range that they did not know of? Lei Yuanwu also could not think of it. He only knew that even he had no room to interfere in this matter, so he said, "Now that the matter has been confirmed, let's go back after clearing out the rank 3 demonic beasts. Remember, when you go back, you must not leak this matter out. Otherwise, it will only bring disaster to our demon-suppressing town." The two deputy commanders knew the seriousness of the matter and nodded. This matter was obviously caused by the Imperial Beast Abode and the Blood Beast sect, but the truth of this matter could not be made public. Otherwise, even the demon-suppressing town would not be able to withstand their anger. Although the demon-suppressing town was a city of the Thunderblaze dynasty, the dynasty would definitely not offend 2 top forces for a demon-suppressing town, especially 2 top forces that did not belong to the Thunderblaze dynasty. Even if the dynasty wanted to deal with them, they could not send troops to the north to suppress them. Then, Lei Yuanwu and the other 2 returned to the periphery and quickly killed the rank 3 demonic beasts. In the evening, they prepared to return with the city guards. At this time, Wei Hongyi summoned his captain and guards. Soon, he found that Lang Shiqi was not there. He frowned and asked Ding Zhou, "Where is your captain?" Ding Zhou stammered and told him about their encounter with the rank 3 demonic beasts. Wei Hongyi was shocked when he heard this, and then a strange look flashed across his eyes. Chapter 2:12. For days had passed since the city guards had cleared out the demonic beasts. In these 4 days, Ling Shiqi had continuously refined the blood of 9 rank 2 demonic beasts. His cultivation had finally reached the peak of the 9th level of the spirit transformation realm. However, he was not happy. This was because he only had the qualifications to break through to the spirit pulse realm. There were countless cultivators at the peak of the 9th level of the spirit transformation realm, but how many of them could break through the shackles? There were still 2 huge obstacles waiting for Ling Shiqi in front of him. In order to break through to the spirit pulse realm from the spirit transformation realm, he had to do 2 things at the same time. First, he had to sublimate his Qi Si into a spirit Si. This required a very pure spirit energy. Just this alone was enough to give Ling Shiqi a headache. Most of his spirit energy came from refining demonic beasts, so it was not very pure. In addition, he had to open a spirit pulse in his body. Spirit pulses were different from ordinary meridians. There were a total of 72 spirit pulses in a cultivator's body. Depending on the cultivation method, the spirit pulse realm would have different spirit pulses. As long as he could sublimate his spirit Si and open another spirit pulse, he would successfully break through to the spirit pulse realm. Ling Shiqi was not lacking in methods to open spirit pulses. The blood slaughter 7 fiendish arts that the blood robe pavilion had passed down to him completely recorded the method to open spirit pulses. There were even insights left behind by predecessors. This was the most enviable thing about disciples of large sections. If it was an ordinary rogue cultivator, no matter how hard they worked, they would not be able to step into the spirit pulse realm for the rest of their lives. On the other hand, Ling Shiqi not only had the 7 fiend blood slaughter art, but also the 9 nether mageweth diagram. It was just that the method to open the spirit meridians of the 2 cultivation methods were different. Therefore, what Ling Shiqi needed the most now was to sublimate his Qi Si into a spirit Si within 3 months. However, this was a painstaking effort that required years of accumulation. It was impossible to complete in a short period of time. Not to mention 3 months, even 3 years might not be enough. Now that he had reached this point, Ling Shiqi had no other choice. Therefore, he could only place his hopes on his last resort. That was the system. Ling Shiqi then opened the system and looked at his information. Name, Ling Shiqi, Lu Xingji. Cultivation, 9th level of the Spirit Transformation Realm Cultivation Method. Rank 3 Cultivation Method Beast Origin Demonic Art. Rank 4 Method Blood Slaughter 7 Fiendish Art, incomplete. Rank 4 Cultivation Method 9 Nether Magic Pattern, incomplete. Bloodline. Spiritual Skills. Perfection of the 3rd stage spiritual skill, Flying Rain Saber Technique, Level 3 Spiritual Skill, 1000 Silver Thread Brushing Hands, has reached perfection. Rank Spirit Skill Fire Skill Rank Spirit Skill Rank 4 Spiritual Skill, Earth Fiend Demon Shadow Claw, System Coins of. Ling Shiqi looked at the 1,500 system coins and smiled. Ever since he had left Blood Mist Island, he had only won the lottery when he had killed Chu Shinran. After that, he had been saving up system coins. After coming out of the tomb of Boiwanhu, he plundered Go Huarong of the Chinko Hall and obtained about 700 system coins. Later, when he destroyed the Golden Wing Academy, he killed the eldest son of the Tang family, Tang He Pu, and 4 disciples of the Tang family. These people also contributed a lot of system coins to him. The rest was the system coins he had obtained from selling monster corpses and monster cores for the past 3 months. As the saying goes, money should be spent where it is needed. Now was the most critical moment for Ling Shiqi. He made up his mind to open the lottery page. He chose the intermediate lottery option and pressed it 15 times in a row. Bursts of rainbow-colored light flashed one after another, and 15 prizes appeared in front of Ling Shiqi. He glanced at them briefly, and then put away the obviously useless things into his mustard seed bag, leaving only 8 things that could be considered useful. Congratulations to the host for obtaining the intermediate prize, Passive Skill, Hell's Curse. Congratulations to the host for obtaining the intermediate prize, Golden Heart Bow. Congratulations to the host for obtaining the intermediate prize, sword drawing technique. Congratulations to the host for obtaining the intermediate prize, secret art, magic cultivation. Congratulations to the host for obtaining the intermediate prize, card, healing touch. Congratulations to the host for obtaining the intermediate prize, 17 swordsmanship of Mount Song. Congratulations to the host for obtaining the intermediate prize, wings, soaring, limited time. Congratulations to the host for obtaining the intermediate prize, flower picking. Looking at these prizes, Ling Shiqi began to count them one by one. The first was the passive skill, Hell's Curse. He remembered that this was the passive skill of a game character, the Warden of Soul Lock. It was a skill that absorbed the souls of the dead to strengthen oneself. Ling Shiqi carefully read the description of the prize. The effect of the Hell's Curse in this world was similar to that in the game. In the game, it strengthened the character's armor and spell strength. In this world, it strengthened his physical strength and mental strength. This is a bit interesting, but I don't know the specific effect. I have to try it when I encounter a rank 2 monster. Ling Shiqi muttered to himself and looked at the next prize, the Golden Heart Bow. This was a rank 3 longbow that was light gold in color. It was much better than the original tendon-changing bow. However, there was nothing special about it, so he put it away. He was more interested in the rank 4 spiritual skill, sword drawing technique. This was a spiritual skill that used a high-speed sword drawing attack to cause unexpected damage to the enemy. What Ling Shiqi cared about was that this spiritual skill seemed to have a certain degree of compatibility with the half-moon swift slash. Perhaps in the future, he could integrate the sword drawing technique into the half-moon swift slash. Fortunately, Ling Shiqi directly cultivated the sword drawing technique to the great perfection realm. A lot of insights appeared in his mind, which made him even more certain that it was indeed possible to integrate this into the half-moon swift slash. However, this process still needed to be slowly comprehended. The secret art, magic cultivation, was something similar to a passive skill. It could slightly increase the power of spiritual skills. The card, Healing Touch, was a card that could be used for healing. Moreover, the healing effect was not bad. Ling Shiqi looked at the wound on his left shoulder. His physical body was already relatively strong. In the past 4 days, he had swallowed a pill to recover his blood and qi. Now, the wound was almost healed. Therefore, he put this card into the system space. Next, he picked up a not-thin secret book. This was the rank 4 spiritual skill, 17 sword techniques of Mount Song. This sword technique came from the Mount Song sect of the 5 mountain sword sect. However, Ling Shiqi was not familiar with this sword technique. He only vaguely remembered that this was a relatively comprehensive and mediocre set of sword techniques. Ling Shiqi immediately cultivated this sword technique to the great perfection realm. Naturally, he was clear about the characteristics of this sword technique. The 17 sword techniques of Mount Song was divided into 8 inner and 9 outer sword techniques. It could be said to be a combination of hardness and gentleness, with both offense and defense. However, the overall sword technique was still inclined towards majestic sword techniques. With this sword technique, Ling Shiqi's heart was finally relieved. He could not help but think to himself, finally, I have a sword technique that I can use. Chapter 213. When it came to swordsmanship, the only thing Ling Shiqi could use was Dazzling Blossom. However, this was one of his trump cards and consumed a lot of spirit qi, so he couldn't use it as a normal swordsmanship. However, other than this move, he could only use the channel impacting sword qi and frost sword qi. Although these 2 sword qis were also level 3 spiritual techniques, they weren't low quality. However, the awkward thing was that Ling Shiqi's opponents were either much stronger or much weaker than him. The channel impacting sword qi and frost sword qi were only icing on the cake. Now that he cultivated the Mount Song 17 swordsmanship, he finally had a high-level swordsmanship that could face his opponents head-on. After sorting out his emotions, Ling Shiqi continued to read. Wings, Empyrean was a pair of palm-sized pure white wings. He carefully looked at the system's description and then carefully put it away. If he used it well, it might be able to save his life. It was also one of his trump cards. As for the last prize, the flower-grasping posture, Ling Shiqi was a bit confused. This flower-grasping posture clearly belonged to Buddhism, but Ling Shiqi was confused because it wasn't a spiritual technique or a secret technique, but more like a mental cultivation method. A mental cultivation method that could suppress evil thoughts and cleanse the heart. After Ling Shiqi learned it with his skill points, he found that the flower-grasping posture was just like the breath-concealing technique and the mind-splitting technique. Then he used the flower-grasping posture. His right hand held the flower-grasping posture and his left hand was under his right hand. A faint Buddhist light appeared on his body, making him look solemn and holy. As for Ling Shiqi, he felt that his mind had suddenly become clear. He felt like he had no more desires, and even his impatience to break through to the spirit vein stage had dissipated. After a short while, Ling Shiqi stopped using the flower-grasping posture and felt a bit more relaxed. He also didn't care about breaking through to the spirit pulse realm anymore. However, other than that, there were no other effects. He had never seen such a miraculous secret technique before. He said in a low voice, "It's truly miraculous." But at this time, Ling Shiqi suddenly remembered something. This world doesn't seem to have Buddhist cultivation techniques, nor does it have any Buddhist sects. Since he was able to draw a Buddhist mantra from the system, he might be able to reappear the Buddha's aura in this other world in the future. After counting all the prizes that could be used, Ling Shiqi's heart was filled with both joy and sadness. He was happy because these prizes had indeed increased his strength and potential. However, it was a pity that none of them could help him break through to the spirit pulse realm in a short period of time. Ling Shiqi had a headache. Since the lottery couldn't help him, he had to think of other ways. It was also because of these prizes that Ling Shiqi remembered that he had a useful prize from the lottery draw in Shangyang City. He hadn't used it until now. Then, Ling Shiqi took out a palm-sized brown disc from his mustard seed bag. It looked a little worn out. This was the treasure-seeking disc. The treasure-seeking disc could lock onto a treasure in the surroundings. However, the quality of the treasure depended on luck. People said that there were many heavenly treasures in the demonic miasma mountain range. Perhaps they could try their luck there. Ling Shiqi held the treasure-seeking disc with a hint of hope in his eyes. Right now, this treasure-seeking disc could be said to be his last hope. Then, he injected his spirit energy to activate the treasure-seeking disc. The disc immediately flashed white, green, blue and other different colors. Finally, it locked onto a purple light. Ling Shiqi's heart skipped a beat. Although he didn't know what level of treasure the purple light represented, it definitely wasn't low. Then, the purple light on the disc condensed into the shape of an arrow and pointed in a direction. Ling Shiqi frowned because that direction pointed to the inner region of the demonic miasma mountain range. The inner region was not a place he could set foot in. However, he could also understand that the outer region of the demonic miasma mountain range had always been the place with the most spirit cultivators. After thousands of years, even if there were some treasures in the outer region, they would have long been dug out. However, to enter the inner region, he was still a little afraid. He had almost fallen into a ditch when dealing with a heavily injured ground-binding rat. Wouldn't he be courting death if he rashly entered the inner region? That's not right. Maybe there really is a chance. Just as Ling Shiqi was hesitating, he suddenly thought of Lei Yuanwu and the other two. The city guards were clearing out the demonic beasts. Lei Yuanwu and the other two took the lead to slaughter the rank 3 demonic beasts. However, they probably wouldn't be satisfied with dealing with the rank 3 demonic beasts in the outer region. If they have entered the inner region, it might not be as dangerous as I thought. Moreover, I have the hand of earth and Byakugan. If it's just to get the treasure, it might be possible. If the treasure is guarded by a demonic beast, I will turn around and leave. I will think of another way. Thinking of this, Ling Shiqi felt that he could make this trip. Since he had made up his mind, Ling Shiqi didn't hesitate. He simply packed up and went underground in the direction indicated by the treasure-seeking compass. However, the speed underground was not fast and it would constantly consume spirit power. However, for safety reasons, Ling Shiqi still chose this method. The outer region of the demonic miasma mountain range was very large. Ling Shiqi didn't reach the border between the outer region and the inner region until the next day. After that, Ling Shiqi became even more careful. He constantly activated Byakugan, thinking that if he encountered a rank 3 demonic beast or stronger, he would immediately go around it. Although he could use the Hand of Earth to escape underground, high-level demonic beasts had all kinds of magical methods. For example, last time when he was chased by Sikong Shou, the Starry Night Wolf King could clearly sense that Ling Shiqi was underground. There was also the earthbound rat that could directly burrow into the ground, and its burrowing speed was much faster than his. Therefore, even if he hid underground, it wasn't very safe. Ling Shiqi carefully entered the inner region. His heart was in his throat. However, after an hour, Ling Shiqi's face showed a somewhat strange expression. Because for more than an hour, he didn't even encounter a single demonic beast. Moreover, he was still using Byakugan. A large range was in his field of vision, but he still didn't find a single demonic beast. Could it be that the demonic beasts in the inner region were also cleared out by Lei Yuanwu? Impossible. There are not only rank 3 demonic beasts in the inner region, but also rank 4 and rank 5 demonic beasts. Even Lei Yuanwu and the others would have to retreat if they encountered a rank 5 demonic beast. Then why is the inner region so strangely quiet? Ling Shiqi was puzzled. However, the fact that there were no demonic beasts in the inner region was a wonderful thing for him. Then he continued to move in the direction indicated by the treasure-seeking compass, but gradually he felt that something was wrong. Chapter 2:14. The more Ling Shiqi walked, the more he felt that something was wrong. The entire inner region was deathly silent, which made him feel extremely strange. If that was all, it would be fine. What made Ling Shiqi even more unacceptable was that he felt that he was about to pass through the inner region, but the treasure-seeking plate was still pointing ahead. If he continued to walk forward, he would enter the central region of the demon miasma mountain range. There were rank 6 monsters inside, which were equivalent to the unity of heaven and man realm experts of the spirit cultivator realm. It was a terrifying existence on the same level as the 9 great netherworld blood cloak assassins of the blood cloak pavilion. In addition, he still remembered the expert who noticed his Byakugan not long ago. In the center of the mountain range, there were probably not only rank 6 monsters, but also experts from the Imperial Beast Camp and the Blood Beast Sect. If the treasure that the treasure-seeking plate pointed to was only in the inner region, Ling Shiqi would still dare to enter to explore. However, it seemed that it was still in the center of the mountain range, so he hesitated. However, just as Ling Shiqi was hesitating, he suddenly discovered an aura in his Byakugan's field of vision. He had seen that aura before. It was the Blood Beast Sect disciple who had appeared when he was secretly observing Cui Jing and his wife. The key was that this aura was weaker than Ling Shiqi's own, only at the 8th level of the spirit transformation realm. Ling Shiqi was puzzled. Blood Beast Sect's people? This person is only at the spirit transformation realm and dares to wander around the border between the inner region and the mountain range? At this moment, Ling Shiqi thought of a plan and immediately sneaked over. Chu Qiu was one of the elite disciples of the Blood Beast Sect. He was already at the 8th level of the spirit transformation realm in his 20s and had a high chance of breaking through to the spirit pulse realm before the age of 30. He was one of the disciples that the sect valued. This time, he had followed the sect to the demon miasma mountain range to carry out an extremely important mission. He was proud of it. However, he was a little bored now. This was because his mission was to patrol the border between the inner region and the center of the mountain range. If he encountered other spirit cultivators, he would do his best to stop them. There were many people like him, and he was only in charge of this area. In his opinion, the beast tide was about to erupt, so who would dare to venture deep into the demonic miasma mountain range at this time? While Chu Qiu was bored to death, he did not realize that a layer of cold air had appeared beneath his feet. By the time he felt a chill, it was already too late. A majestic cold air gushed out from the ground, freezing Chu Qiu before he could even open his mouth to shout. Following that, a pair of hands reached out from the ground and dragged Chu Qiu underground. Naturally, it was Leng Shiqi. After Leng Shiqi caught Chu Qiu by surprise, he didn't dare to delay and quickly dragged Chu Qiu away from this place. During this process, he continued to release cold air to prevent Chu Qiu from breaking out of the ice. Leng Shiqi didn't stop until he was a distance away. At the same time, he didn't continue to release the cold air. Instead, he held the jade sword to Chu Qiu's neck. After a short while, Chu Qiu finally broke free from the ice, but he immediately felt the blade on his neck and was extremely shocked. He was a spirit cultivator at the late stage of the spirit transformation realm, and he thought that his strength was not bad. However, he was actually captured by this old man without anyone noticing. One had to know that the experts of the 4 realms of heaven and man were not far from the center of the mountain range, but he had disappeared without anyone noticing. Now, his life was in the hands of others. Chu Qiu ignored the ice on his face and said hatefully, "Who are you? Do you know my identity?" Leng Shiqi smiled sinisterly and said, "Aren't you just a disciple of the Blood Beast sect? Since you know, let me go now and you might still have a chance to live. The experts of the sect are nearby, and they will soon notice that I have disappeared. When they find you, I'm afraid you will be fed to the Blood Beasts." Chu Qiu used the Blood Beast sect to suppress him. However, Leng Shiqi's hand moved slightly, and the jade sword cut open a bloody mark on Chu Qiu's neck. Chu Qiu's eyes finally revealed a look of fear. He looked at Leng Shiqi's cold expression, and he seemed to know that the other party really dared to kill him. Leng Shiqi really wanted to kill him, and his body even revealed a faint killing intent. He said, "This old man doesn't want to talk nonsense. I'll ask, and you answer. Do you understand?" Chu Qiu shuddered inwardly and nodded his head honestly. Leng Shiqi asked, "Is the change in the demon miasma mountain range related to your Blood Beast sect? Will there really be a beast tide outbreak?" This. Chu Qiu hesitated for a moment, but still said, "It was us and the Imperial Beast Camp who worked together to drive the rank 3 demonic beasts from the inner regions to the outer regions, creating the illusion of a beast tide riot. Furthermore, we spread the news in order to expel the spirit cultivators from the mountain range." When Leng Shiqi heard this, he thought that it was indeed the case. There was no beast tide outbreak in the demon miasma mountain range at all. All of this was just as he had thought. It was all the doing of the Blood Beast sect and the Imperial Beast Camp behind the scenes. At the same time, he also found it strange that the Imperial Beast Camp and the Blood Beast sect were 2 completely hostile sects, so why would they work together to set up a trap? He continued to ask, "What about the demonic beasts in the inner regions? There are quite a few rank 4 and rank 5 demonic beasts here. Where did they all go?" Chu Qiu replied, "The rank 4 and rank 5 demonic beasts have already developed some intelligence. They know that danger is coming, so they run and hide. That's why there are no demonic beasts in the inner regions." Danger is coming? Leng Shiqi keenly found this key point. He thought to himself, could it be that the experts of the 2 top forces have gathered, causing these demonic beasts to escape? However, he felt that things were not that simple, so he asked, "Danger? What kind of danger would cause the rank 4 and rank 5 demonic beasts to escape?" At this time, Chu Qiu opened his mouth and finally said hesitantly, "Senior, you already know enough. There are some things that you won't benefit from knowing. Why bother to get to the bottom of it?" Leng Shiqi frowned. He quickly formed a seal with his left hand and summoned a blood-colored centipede that was as thick as an arm. The centipede burrowed into Chu Qiu's body. Chu Qiu immediately convulsed in pain, but Leng Shiqi's sword was still on his neck, so he did not dare to move. Just like this, he was in so much pain that his face turned pale and he even foamed at the mouth. Leng Shiqi saw that it was about time. He changed his seal and temporarily calmed the centipede curse, but Chu Qiu's body was still convulsing. After a while, he slowly recovered. Leng Shiqi said coldly, "Remember, I'm the one asking you. If you don't want all your meridians to be bitten and die in endless pain, tell me everything you know. Chu Qiu panted a few times and nodded heavily. Tell me, what is the purpose of you and the Imperial Beast Camp coming to the demonic Miasma mountain range? Chu Qiu weakly said something that shocked Ling Shiqi. He also understood why the Imperial Beast Camp and the Blood Beast sect had joined forces for the first time. You're tuning into the Dreamy Love Stories YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.